like scary movies?
Uh-huh. I'm getting ready to watch a video.
You making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. Talk to me. Talk to me.
Hi everybody, I'm George and welcome to the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. And today's guest is here to help kick off the final Plutember. I'm pleased as punch to welcome back to the show, Mike Regan. How's it going, buddy?
Whoa, George. Thrilled to be back here. Plutember again. It feels like it was just Plutember.
I know. Plutember lives, though, and I'm thrilled to have it here. And for people who don't know, Plutember is the wonderful time of year when my co-hosts from the long hiatus Psych Rewatch podcast, We Heard About Pluto, join me for an episode individually and then together for a movie that I get to pick for once. And I hear the longtime listeners out there saying, George, Plutember already? It does feel like it was just yesterday because that's not until December.
I just said that too, yeah.
And it turns out that what I thought was the ember part of the name coming from December is actually the timber part of the name coming from September. So I had to quickly adjust and get it right at least one time before the show ended.
Well, I remember when we do have that long hiatus podcast We Heard About Pluto. We are bringing it back at some point, so. Of
course.
But I do remember when we stumbled upon the sacred Plutember texts, and we had it all wrong. So it's fine. It's our bad.
Right. It is a little embarrassing for me to have gotten it wrong for 4 years and then only just now at the very end get it right.
Well, we had the text for a while too.
Yeah.
Like we just didn't read them.
Right. And so I can't, this is the thing, is I can't even say that it wasn't my fault.
Right.
So
I mean, yeah. Like everyone knows it's our fault, but we're making good now. This is what we're doing now. We're celebrating Plutember.
Right.
Feels early to all the regular listeners, which is that's got to be like Christmas, which
yeah,
I don't know what that feels like. I only celebrate Plutember, so
yes, but it's all coming together. I'm excited to have it, and we have discussed your history with horror at length.
Yes,
and we have a lot to get to. So people can go back, listen to your previous appearances for more. But we're talking about my guy, M. Night Shyamalan today.
Yes,
and in fact, this is sort of a stand-in for the fact that Trap was too recently released. And so I couldn't get my grubby little mitts on it in time for notes, but I did promise we could chat about it. So, Reegs, tell me what you think about M. Night Shyamalan in general and Trap specifically.
Wow. Well, I'll start with M. Night really historically he's been a coin flip for me as a director. I have some of his movies have been some of my favorite movies I've ever seen, and some others I've just really not enjoyed. And that's kind of, it's not, and he's interesting too, because usually with a director, I feel like that is marked by the time where they direct movies and the time period. But for him, it's like, I love some of his early stuff. I hate some of his early stuff. I love some of his later stuff. I hate some of his later stuff. So he's consistent in the way that he's inconsistent with me, which is, I guess, refreshing.
Sure.
But,
he's taking big swings every time.
He does. And just some stuff and I appreciate the swings that he does take. And I do understand that some of his films resonate with certain audiences that, just miss the mark with me and other people probably. But it seems to be that's the case too, because with a lot of his recent stuff, the Old and what's the other one, Knock at the Cabin, and then now Trap, which just came out. Yeah,
and Glass as well. A lot of people weren't thrilled with that one. I happen to like it, but
yeah, I mean, like I don't think I saw Glass. That's the Unbreakable sequel
conclusion.
Right?
Yes, the culmination of that and Split combining.
Yes, and Split was good. I liked Split a lot, and Split's I liked. The Unbreakable I really liked. Sixth Sense obviously is great, but then you have some of his duds for me, which is, and we have come to blows on this almost. It got really serious one time over The Village.
That's
and right. I just really don't like that movie, and I watched it again as an adult and just confirmed. I usually. With movies I didn't like as a teenager, the first time I saw that movie, I went on a date that I did. There was no second date because the movie was probably so bad. But that's how I saw the movie, and we both agreed how terrible it was. But, I was a 16-year-old kid trying to seem cool about stuff. And I'm like, I'll give it a second crack as an adult. My good friend George likes this movie a lot.
That's right.
There's got to be something to it. I watch it again. I just don't like it. But I do. My wife liked it, so I mean, I get how people can like it. Just not for me.
Sure.
And I felt that way with Old. I felt that way with Knock at the Cabin, and then Trap came along.
Wow.
And man, I fucking loved it. I ate that shit up. We saw it in the theaters, and that probably added to it a little bit. The theater experience. I saw the other one. I saw Old in the theaters too. So withdrawn. But Knock at the Cabin I saw in streaming. But man, Trap was just so fucking good. The tension built throughout the entire movie was some of the best I've ever sat through for. And I felt like it was a short burn. I think it was like a 90-minute.
Yeah, it's not long. It's not long.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the exact timing is, but it's definitely not a long movie.
And Hartnett is fantastic in it. He's so just chilling. And
he's back, baby.
He's back
in a big way.
Hartnett Renaissance. I can't think of I think there's a portmanteau out there now for that, but I can't pull it. But
listeners, weigh in. Send in your portmanteaus.
This is usually our wheelhouse, but you know we're bringing you in on this one.
We're thrown off by the suddenness of Plutember.
There's so many syllables. I just can't make it work. But anyway, he's so good in it, and it makes the movie work in a way where I think anybody else. And that's a funny thing with him too, because sometimes his movies, that's where they fall short for me. Is the performances, is the dialogue between the actors sometimes. So it was refreshing to see this one kind of, there was one really strong performance carrying it throughout, and I think that's all it really needed. And I really loved the concert setting was very cool and fun and current. Man, it really worked for me. And I saw that it got like a 2.9 on Letterboxd. I'm like, what's going on? I just don't get it. He is really a coin flip of
it's crazy. Every time that I look at the rating of one of his movies on Letterboxd, I am shocked.
Yeah.
I am shocked.
I thought this was fucking good. Like, I mean, I see people on Twitter talking about it. Like, I try to avoid any kind of hype or anything beforehand because I don't like to, especially with movies like this, because I don't like to, I try to go in fresh as I can. But man, yeah, this really worked. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe I left saying it might be my favorite of his over Sixth Sense.
Wow. High praise indeed.
But I've walked it back a little bit since then. But I still think it's really, really good.
I mean, the fact that that's even in the mix as a possibility, I think, speaks very highly to, how effective the suspense is. And I think that you're totally right in terms of, it's no secret that Hitchcock is a huge influence on M. Night. And I think that is as close to like a direct homage to a Hitchcock movie as maybe he's done so far.
Right.
I thought it was really good. Obviously, yes, Hartnett is amazing in it. I thought the cinematography, great follow-up to, I think his old cinematographer was Tak Fujimoto. I might be getting that name wrong, but I think that was his old cinematographer. And this cinematographer did a really good job of sort of living up to the beautiful fluid movement that I love in M. Night movies. I thought it did a great job of sort of like emulating Hartnett's movements to really put you in his shoes, really make it feel like you're the one who's in the titular trap.
The shots between the him and talking with the other, like that other mom and just the guy, the security, or the guy that was working the merch table.
Yeah.
And like just those, like the way those conversations were shot in a way that was, I don't know, it almost removed you from the moment, but also it was, I don't know, it was very interesting and it gripped me. M. Night movies also, he's very twist forward, and this one is different where the twist comes right away, where you know what's going on like within minutes, and then it's really about the tension build up, which I guess like to contrast, like to compare that to Sixth Sense. If my memory, I haven't seen that in a while, but the tension's good, but it's really build up to the reveal. So it's he goes, he's got a lot of bandwidth there when it comes to drama, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I find it to be pretty interesting because he definitely, I think everybody was like, oh, he's the twist guy. And so he was like, well, I don't want to be the twist guy. Like that can't be what I am. So he like switched it up, and like sometimes there's no twist and it's just a straightforward thing. Sometimes there is, like you said, like a twist at the beginning, and then it's just playing with the fallout of that. I think that he has sort of branched out in an effort to reject being labeled. And it becomes funny to look at people who are like, this one didn't have a twist, and that's what I want from an M. Night movie. And it's like, well, come on, like just engage with the movie as it is. Like,
right. I don't think it helps him though that he insists that the audience eat pretzels. during his movie.
Yeah, I wish that he didn't. It's in this one as well. She drops off she has pretzels with them when they arrive on the train. Yeah, it's his one downfall. I'd say
it's a little distracting.
Yeah,
they always talk about the twist of the pretzel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I thought Alison Pill was great as well, even though she had pretty limited screen time. It's another entry in the what is going on with M's relationship to rap chronicle with Kid Cudi's funny performance in it.
Oh, Kid Cudi was great too. I did not expect to see him, but I'm always delighted when he shows up and stuff. Comedy Bang Bang.
That's right.
Etc.
X.
Yes. Oh, I didn't like X.
I just realized, well, that's, spoiler alert, that's JP's pick next to...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and M. Night is another one. He's horror, tangentially related to horror for sure, but like, it's polarizing. It's maybe the most polarizing genre out there in film.
For sure.
Maybe comedy too.
So many niches as well, though. Like, I mean, comedy, there's, I feel like, less subsections that it can fall into. Definitely there's, like, improv-heavy stuff, there's farce, there's parody, but like I think that horror is so many tiny verticals that like if you don't like the conceit, like that's it, game over, right? Nothing that they're gonna do to bring you back. So, but back to Trap. I did like it. I am going to loudly and publicly tisk M though for setting it at a stadium that hopefully does not get built.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know anything about the Philadelphia politics here, so enlighten me a little bit.
Basically, the current sports complex is an ocean of concrete that they were like, we need these stadiums down here. And so the city was like, fine, we're going to build you a place where all of these cars that are driving into the city can park, and it will be accessible by public transit. Everyone can take the subway and get down there. It's hideous, but it works. And the problem is that Comcast owns the Wells Fargo Center where the Sixers play. And so they offered a 50-50 split of the profits. But the Sixers want 100% of the profit because basketball earnings are going through the roof. And so they're like, well, why should Wells Fargo and Comcast be able to leech off us for that? And their fix basically was to take an area of Center City, which is like the main area of Philadelphia, and plop a stadium in the middle of that instead. And their thinking is, it will revitalize the area. There's not a ton going on down there, but there's also a lot of maybe less intended ramifications, like the displacement of a ton of Chinatown as well. And also like, it's already a nightmare driving in the city, and now they want everyone parking down there and trying to get out for like basketball games and stuff. It's going to be awful.
Nightmare.
Yeah. So it's a very touchy subject, and it felt very strange for M. Night to sort of put his thumb on the scale in that way. Maybe it was just an attempt to future-proof it, but I didn't like it. And then on top of that, it was filmed in Toronto and not Philadelphia. So I was like, you're really...
come on.
M. Night, you're fumbling the bag.
Right. It's clearly not in touch with the Philadelphians, such as yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Tisk tisk.
Exactly.
I'll second that tisk tisk.
Thank you.
I don't normally do that, but I will.
One tisk from me, one tisk from you.
Yes. Perfect.
But today we are officially talking about The Visit.
Ooh.
This is a pivotal moment in his career, the beginning of the bounce back, so to speak. It's right after After Earth, the second of two huge flops that effectively burned his reputation to the ground. This is, he felt bad about selling out a bit to do these. They were huge studio movies, and he got a huge budget for them. And so, while talking about the purity of intention, he said in the behind the scenes of this movie, when commerce leads the artist, not so good things happen. But when the artist inspires commerce, good things happen for everybody. And so he was saying, yeah, I sold out. Like, I fucking should not have done those movies because I thought like, it'll be great for me. I'll get to work with these cool guys like Will Smith, and I'll get to do all this fun stuff. He's a Philadelphia icon. And he regretted it seemed like. Understandably so, with the reaction those movies got.
Understandably so to regret it, but also come on, like understandable. I feel like it's easy to judge people that sell out, but I feel like it's also really easy to sell out. If you're offered a big truckload of money, it's You know, who's going to say, the very few are going to say no to that because it's about the art, especially with movies. I see that more in like the music industry than I do with entertainment. It's, you know, like who gives a fuck? Just take get your bread and run. And then that affords you opportunity to make stuff that you really like if it's really about the art for you. So it's kind of like a one for them, one for you type of situation. Not perfect, but you know,
this
it is what
the
it is.
MCU of its day,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
They scooped up a
M.
booming
Night
indie
Cinematic
director.
Universe.
Wow, so true. But yeah, he also feels like there's a chance for success by going back to basics, telling Telegraph, now I'm going to try and make smaller movies based on my experience with this one. Oh, by the way, The Last Airbender was the other movie. That was a huge flop, which I did not actually say by name.
It's a funny title.
I don't care to engage with that one.
Can't bend air, first of all.
It's not with that attitude.
Yeah, well, Bender never did it on Futurama, and he's my resource for bending.
Yeah, your number one insight into the world of bending.
Yeah.
Hey,
Can't think of a better one.
I can't deny it. His Bender Bending Rodriguez. It's right in the name.
Robot programmed to bend.
That's right. But so M. Night said, now I'm going to try and make smaller movies based on my experience with this one. I liked using the muscles I learned, and I want to use them a little bit more, but in a smaller way. We used to think that small movies don't make money anymore, and that's why they don't get made. But Black Swan, The King's Speech, both made many millions of dollars. So I think I can make my small personal movies. And as many have said, those with nothing to lose are the most dangerous. So he gets several people who aren't exactly the face of Hollywood, and he puts them in an incredibly demanding script that has to then balance 3 kinds of humor: irony, farce, and whimsy, and then also still be able to be taken seriously. No small feat.
No, that's an interesting, like to balance all of those things. And I didn't realize it came out of that time, like right after all of these flops too, because in this one really snuck up on me. I know we'll get into it, but I didn't even know it was one of his movies. It really, like I was looking for a movie to watch one day, and like, you know, on the letterbox, I'm like, oh, The Visit. What is this? And I flipped it on, and so
great poster, you know,
right,
it's the kind of thing that draws you in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's got a creepy vibe to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In our episode on The Happening, which I recommend to Shyamalan lovers and haters alike, we talked a lot about the way that he plays with absurdity, and he does that really well. The mixture of horror and humor is, I think, most visible in this movie, and balanced in a way that people don't reject it in a way that people did with Old. You're not a fan of Old. I am a huge fan of that movie. To me, they have a very similar feeling in terms of, like, the horror is so exaggerated as to become comedic again on the other side of it. And yeah, to me, they feel very alike. But I think that this one just balances it in a way that more people are able to get on board with it.
Yeah. I'd like to revisit Old, actually. That's the one out of the... Because Knock at the Cabin, I feel like fell a little flat with me. But Old was one I was more like... Not confused, but... confused on how I felt about it leaving it. And I think I gave it a 3 on Letterboxd. Because it just didn't... I don't know. That may be a problem of his too. It's because you're looking for something to ground you in his films, and nothing. He doesn't want to be the twist guy, so it kind of it's hard to get the vibe, you know, a vibe or a feel of his movies sometimes. And when like it ends, you know, and I maybe miss the vibe of it or miss the what he was going for. The ending falls flat to me, and I don't get it, or I don't like, you know, it's hard to, I don't know.
He's the king of straight-faced comedy, in my opinion. Like I think it is difficult sometimes to tell when he's joking and when he's not.
Yeah.
Because he plays it so close to the chest. And so that's kind of when you have to be like, well, I think that that's silly. And like, at this point, I'm just like, I trust him enough to be like, that's a joke, I think.
Okay, so you're more familiar with his filmography than I am, so that makes sense. And yeah, I don't like. I left it thinking like, okay, I like the concept of Old a lot. Like it was a really cool idea.
Yeah, the beach makes you old. Boom, done and done.
Done. Yeah, cool. That's yes. I'm willing to see that, but yeah, I don't know. There was something about it that I just didn't love, but liked. Didn't love.
Sure. One piece of absurd humor of this movie is found as early as the metatextual implication of the movie's plot, which is that a 15-year-old child made this movie that looks better than 99% of found footage and probably a significant portion of horror and movies at large.
Yeah, and just accidentally stumbles upon to a really good story, too.
Yeah, right. So there's a lot of ironic humor going on there already. But I do want to talk about this a little bit, because there's an interesting debate about where this fits, and especially doesn't fit, in the found footage subgenre, which is built upon a premise of reality. And there are two sort of camps of found footage. The ones that depict the way technology interacts with the supernatural, like Host or Paranormal Activity. And then there are the ones that, quote-unquote, accidentally capture footage of a horrific crime, which is recovered and presented as truth, like Cannibal Holocaust. And I've discussed the former at length in the episodes about various found footage movies, but this second kind, which The Visit would fall into, we've covered a lot less. And it's kind of unique in the way that it erodes the fourth wall across the board, that subgenre does. This plays with something that has come up before, how horror flirts with artificiality in a way that can be used to either make things less real and comfort the audience to say, no, it's fine, this is just a movie, or make it feel more real and disturb them. Other movies that I've discussed that do this include Funny Games, which notably does both at once, and Last House on Dead End Street is sort of a more unblinking extreme example. But the whole subgenre of found footage is based on leveraging the feeling of reality from stumbling across realistic documentary footage. And I feel like that's so interesting because
Yes.
it kind of has to be a modern thing. Like, not only just like by how cameras had to shrink down to a certain portability, but just like for us to have evolved the way that we interact with movies enough to then subvert that artifice and break through that fourth wall in a way that makes us then feel more uncomfortable and use that as the way to derive fear, I just feel like is really interesting.
Totally agree, and that's a really insightful thoughts you had there, and I hadn't given thought to the differences of found footage movies. But yeah, I think this one is interesting in the way too, because the girl, the 15-year-old that's making the movie, she's like a self-proclaimed, film snob, film buff, and everything like that. Whereas some of them, it's just some person with a camera. So I think there is another layer to that in this one that I do appreciate, because that adds a little bit of humor to it a lot of the times too. Like the brothers making jokes at her expense. The Nana even has a couple zingers, I feel like, about name another director, calling her other famous directors. Not zingers, but still like material around it. Which I
think you're spot on, Reese. I think that her being that like film nerd lets M. Night play with the artificiality in a way that the typical found footage movie does not.
Right.
Ordinarily, a found footage movie accomplishes this sense of reality through editing. You get a lot of handheld wide shots, long stretches of inaction, and also naturalistic performances are a part of that. People who just feel like they have walked in off the street, that they have truly captured them.
Right.
And these elements let you suspend your disbelief more effectively because there's a quote-unquote reason for these images. The cinematic apparatus can be ignored in a way that a traditional narrative struggles with.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in to watch a movie, you say, I'm watching a movie, and found footage claims, no, you're watching something more than that. But found footage is normally an entry point for directors because it's cheap, and because you can sort of write off Looking Bad as an artistic choice. But M. Night can't do that, I think. I think he is too polished and too proud of the way that his movies look, too technically proficient. And so, even though there is a distinction between the filming style of each of the two kids, because both of them use a camera at different points, he sort of rejects the dirty, lo-fi feeling of found footage. And his style of dialogue that you've talked about kind of flies in the face of that forced naturalism as well. the way that he writes is poetic and over the top and overwrought to some people, and it is famously not necessarily the way that people talk.
Right.
So his style butts up against found footage in a really interesting way. I do think it is also kind of ironic that editing is such a tell, because one of the most famous examples of actual found documentary footage is Grizzly Man, which is, of course, edited together very nicely. So it's funny that, like, the actual example of found footage is, like, beautiful, and then everyone's like, no, it looks like shit. But so the visit being organized and edited and polished doesn't necessarily preclude it from being found footage. You know, we see Becca editing mid-movie.
Right.
It could just be carrying out her intention, we'll say. But what's another more interesting subversion to me than just this, like, editing style is the credits. Movies like The Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity have no credits at all. Most found footage movies will save it for the end. Occasionally, they'll even extend the pause before them, like the Borderlands. And this is sort of like a shorthand for truth. It even extends to mockumentaries like Spinal Tap.
Right.
And they say, we're going to forego opening credits. We're going to just jump right in. But The Visit does not. There are opening credits. It allows that artificiality to creep in right away. And there's also non-diegetic music that we'll talk about, music that plays not naturally in the movie. So that's another just like small example of where it sort of butts up against the typical style of a found footage movie. And when people ask him about this, M. Night has mentioned over and over again that, like his major influence, Alfred Hitchcock, he likes to set limitations for himself, to expand on creativity within them, because it, quote, forces collaboration. Because you can't just say yes to everything. It removes ego. You need to find fixes with people. And it can be more honest to look at The Visit as less of a found footage movie itself and more of playing with the challenge of a found footage movie, which is that every shot could conceivably have been captured by these children and their cameras. But he doesn't necessarily have to play with the demands of actual randomness in the genre. He called it a first-person documentary format and said, there's a level of veracity that's so hard to attain when you're scripting it. It requires an insane precision to make it look spontaneous. And he described it as staggering and almost suffocating. And I think that that is really visible once you start to look for it.
Right.
You know, it's not...
You have to realize it, yeah.
Right. It's not something that, like, when I look at it without thinking and hearing him speak about this, that I go, you know, this is a lot like a found footage movie, but it's not, you know, there are these little elements that don't do it. And I think that that is to his acclaim.
Right.
The fact that, you know, he is able to elevate it in a way that lets him utilize his own skills and his own talents while still playing within this sandbox and having this challenge of making it seem like the kids are the ones capturing it, I think is just done so deftly.
He balances it really well, and like the randomness you mentioned, I think he's able to capture, and in a way, in a very small way, because there's ways where the camera is just left places, you know, just like how it would be normally, like in a conversation, like someone coming and setting it and leaving it down on a table, and then you capture a really good shot with that, you know, from that point of view.
Right.
Which is a fun, cool way to kind of play with the found footageness of it. What I also am remembering about this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a difference here between this one and maybe a lot of other found footage movies is there's not a lot of movement with the camera.
Right.
Like I'm contrasting it with maybe the Blair Witch Project, where there's a ton of movement. But maybe that's not a good example, but still, like, there's a lot of it is
they
interviews.
set it down.
Yeah, they set it down. It's interviews. It's her editing it. There's a couple scenes with like her walking to go try to get the cookies late night and other things, but for the most part, they're standing still, which I think is able to help him blur those lines between found footage and an actual movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also think that one element of found footage that this sort of opens up to him in a way that he might not be able to utilize, you know, new avenues that a traditional movie wouldn't have, like people directly addressing the camera.
Yeah.
And also their awareness of the camera. You know, we see people and you go, are they being truthful in a way that you don't necessarily have to question in a more traditional movie, because you're not having to parse their interaction with their awareness of the camera and being recorded.
Right. Yeah. And that's, man, there's so many, like, and you mentioned nuance within the genre, and there's even nuance within the genre within the genre. Like,
Right.
it's kind of, when you really get to study it, it's fascinating. It kind of stands on its own and it's on its way to, because I can't think of another. Can you think, like, what's a good found, because you're more versed in this than I am, but what's a good found footage movie to compare this one to? Because this seems like it stands on its own in a way.
Yeah, maybe like The Bay
Okay.
might be an okay one. That's like kind of a documentary, quote unquote documentary about like,
Michael Bay.
yeah, it's about Michael Bay and that sick fuck. He's a monster, it turns out. Literally.
It's weird that it was a found footage one. Yeah.
I think that might be the closest, but I think you are right that it is pretty unique. And I think that does sort of come down to his established skill. You know, a found footage movie encourages long takes. That makes it feel a lot like his early work. It actually has the second longest average shot length of any of his movies after Unbreakable and right before The Village. So that plays right into his style. And I also find it cool, I sort of mentioned this already, but there's a real subtlety to which he rides the simultaneously increased and decreased artificiality line. There are moments of foreshadowing. Like, that literally can't exist in a quote unquote random found footage movie.
Right.
But that does happen in this. There's non-diegetic music and sound cues. There are filmic decisions that importantly both kids quote unquote make that are so coincidental as to be unbelievable. Even as simple as like the atmospheric landscape shots that sacrifice verisimilitude for the sake of style and quality. But what's important is that they don't feel like they're bringing you out of it. It remains true to that original challenge, which does make it really unique. Even though you have these elements that break free of the confines of reality, so to speak, it still feels like these kids are the ones capturing it.
Right. Yeah, like it's up to them, so to speak. We're only seeing it because of them.
Right.
Yeah.
It also definitely stays true to a lot of M. Night's own style, which is great, even as simple as calling back to his fascination with fairy tales, as demonstrated especially in Lady in the Water. You know, here there's something that haunts the night. It ritualistically starts after bedtime at 9:30. There's a ton of Hansel and Gretel influence specifically. Nana is very witch-like, especially considering her association with the oven and emphasis on feeding the kids. Pop-Pop is associated with being a woodcutter, which is another archetype that the father in that story falls into. And like the kids in the story, they have been abandoned by their father. But what makes it that much more interesting is that while, yes, they are archetypes of fairy tales, they still sort of remain more fleshed out. You know, they're ill and looking for comfort and
Right.
a shattered family. They're not just one-dimensional, you know?
And they don't know they're looking for comfort in a way too, and that's an interesting kind of sub journey that the two kids go on. I guess it's more center frame than anything, but it's not heavily addressed as like the big elephant in the room.
Right.
But yeah, just to see them go through like their dad leaving and like what that, you know, how they're each reacting to that in their different yet kind of similar ways, I think it really countered the humor in this movie. And I'll say too, I think this is his funniest movie.
Yeah.
Like I am laughing out loud at this a few times. And I mean, T Diamond Stylus is like, get him in stuff. Like he needs to be in
A
front of the
collab
camera.
album with The Thinker.
Come on, like let's make it happen. But
I would say let's get Midsize Sedan in there too, but unfortunately he is dead via Beach That Makes You Old, so
tough.
that's
Shouldn't
not
have
the
went
way
there.
you want to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. But that's how it goes, baby.
That's what it does. That's what the beach does.
That's right. Let's talk about casting, which is
Yes.
a big part of this. Knight said, quote, "They say 80% of a director's job is casting." And then he discussed that purity of intention again and said, "Corruption can rear its head so easily in this arena in particular. What does casting this person mean for my career? Do I aspire to work with them? Can they make us safe?" And so he rejected this idea and the idea of having anybody super famous. And he said, "It brings me great peace because I know no matter what else happens with the movie, that they were chosen with 100% purity." And I think that it really, really pays off for this movie in a huge way.
Totally. I mean, they're great. The kids are great. Like, and they just the casting too, just like in terms of, they look like they could be Catherine Hahn's kids. Like, you know, it's just like, and they look like they could be brother and sister too. Just, it doesn't, nothing about that removes you from the movie and makes you like question it for even a second, which, they nailed it.
Yeah, so our two main actors are Olivia de Jong and Ed Oxenbould, two Australian children who play Becca and her brother Tyler. Really important for the kids, not only to be believable in their roles, but also to be able to effectively deliver that M. Night signature dialogue.
They're Australian?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. See, that's another, like, I had no idea. He's rapping in an American accent. It's pretty
impressive.
Cool.
T Diamond, I want to hear the Orig versions.
Yeah, that's the uncut version. Let's go.
But yeah, Becca in particular falls into his troubled, gifted child trope, and Tyler sort of exuberantly embodies his sense of humor, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Becca is also very funny, though. You know, we talked about her enthusiasm for film, and I would say that her eager confidence is exaggerated so much as to be comical as well.
Right.
It's a really wild performance because the character is very sincere, but also aware of the camera. So there is that performed distance as well. And she's like earnest, but with mock solemnity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about this more as we go. But to me, it's like Becca is a role that she's playing, a defense against the trauma that she and Tyler experienced when their father left. You know, we've seen Tyler affecting an attitude that covers up his self-esteem issues. As far as I'm concerned, both of these kids are doing that exact thing.
Yes. And I think this, Becca specifically, like, Tyler is M. Night's humor. Becca is, like, when people grieve, they tend to throw themselves into their work or projects. And that's what she's doing with this film. She is already a film buff, but that really, you know, that's like an assist for M. Night in a way, even though he created this character, so he knows what he's doing. But just as, like, to deliver that kind of stuff that he wants to deliver, because it makes sense for her to be so into this documentary and into being a film buff, because she's, what, a 15-year-old kid and her dad just left? Like, that's going to fuck you up. Like, that's, you know, it's not going to... You're going to go through that in a certain way, and people usually, like, really focus on something. And that's what makes this such an effective found footage movie in this universe and just, you know, in our universe, too.
Huh, I guess it is good writing. You're right.
It is good writing. I guess it is.
There's also a good for the story dilemma for her where her empathy means that she's warm to these confused elderly people and her pain in the ass brother, but it also means that she's constantly hand-waving away all the red flags that scare Tyler. You know, again, double duty thing where it absolutely makes you feel bad and empathetic towards Becca, but also, like, in terms of the story existing, we need a reason for them to stay, and Becca's desire to fill this role of the perfect family is driving her to hand wave these things away, and that keeps them there. She's trapped in more ways than one. And actually, this movie is also a bit of a trap if people really think about it.
Oh, shit. It kind of is. They should have called this one Trap.
Yeah.
And then the next one, The Visit, because they're visiting the concert. So.
Right. And she's also visiting the city on tour. So
I mean, come on. M. Night, let's flip them around, baby.
That's right. That's right.
But
this
I think...
this is what we're talking about, M. Night. This is why you have to call us.
Call us. Like, why are we not in the... You're ignoring our calls. So, like, it could help you. But, I don't know. Becca's character is very interesting to me, and it was really interesting to see it on a second watch too, to kind of let those emotional beats like weigh on me more. Because, like, you know, when I watch these movies, I'm looking for the reveal or the big, you know, like, whoa, what's gonna happen? Like, what is happening? Like, I'm trying to figure out what's happening. So, like, some of that stuff is lost on me for the first time. So it was refreshing, and this does play well on a rewatch. Like, you're looking for the little clues, you're looking for different things, and like this kind of stuff hits with you harder, I feel like. But for someone dumb like me that can't really let it soak in the first time. That is just like, what happened?
You're totally right. You're just trying to get the plot the first time through. And I think that a lot of M. Night movies, it's funny because everyone does think of him as the twist guy, but I think so many of his movies benefit from that second watch where you're like, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I know what happens. I know how the plot shakes out. Now I can sort of look for the things that indicate that might be happening down the road, or look for the emotional cues that it's actually really more about than just what the twist. What is the twist in service of?
Yes. And he does that really well, too. He lays the groundwork really, really well in a way I noticed, obviously, that more this time. But just from the jump, from just the little seeds that are planted in little ways to comfort you to think that... Oh, and I remember what I was going to say about this movie, too. The dementia, in a way, that the grandparents have. Right. I think that's a theme that is dealt with, like Becca, how she kind of brushes off all of the signs that, the warning signs that Tyler is bringing her. It's kind of emblematic of our own view of dementia. Like, I don't think anybody has a really good handle on it. It kind of seems like, it's just something a little scary to people that don't, like, maybe they've had a family member that's gone through it, or know someone that's gone through it. It's it's incurable. It's incurable. It's a really frightening disease, and it's heartbreaking for the people.
To lose yourself in that way is terrifying.
And for the people around you too. So it's like, I think that's what he's maybe trying. Like, she literally defines sundown syndrome, which a lot of people probably didn't know before this movie, and hopefully shining a little light on it. Like, and that also helps with the ultimate reveal, because it's like, there's no way, like, nobody is that familiar with dementia except for maybe doctors. So we're going to do what Becca does, and we're going to brush off maybe the warning signs, like, oh, these people are just, they're both going through it, and there's no one to take care of them. So,
right. We say, oh, they're just sick, not realizing how sick they are.
Right. Exactly. And they become more sick later, which is, it's fun in a way. It
certainly is, yeah. The degradation is intense.
Yeah.
Nana's look and the casting of Deanna Dunnigan is really effective. She reminds me a lot of the iconic Lillian Gish, who I discussed on the Night of the Hunter episode. She's quite famously the ultimate savior of that movie's fleeing children. And it's a very famous role. So the visual language of that is subverted to great effect as Nana degenerates. It also sort of plays with hagsploitation movies like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, especially the way that Nana interacts with the camera and Becca declaring her to be the star of the movie.
Yes.
And sort of recapture this fading glory.
She says that a couple times too.
That's right.
This movie is a 3-star. This maybe 3-star or under. Well, maybe not. I don't want to say that, but the Nana carries a lot of weight here with the tension, I don't know how else to describe it, but the creepiness factor, like it is.
She's scary.
She's scary. She's like just standing there and sitting there and like laughing in the rocking chair. A creepy grandma is, it's a good trope, and she nails it here.
It really is remarkable the amount of distance that she has to cover in her performance, from being
literally
very
too
sweet.
Under the deck.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Very all over the place. Yeah.
Very true.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You also have Peter McRobbie as Pop. He's fantastic as well. And we said Catherine Hahn is in this as their mom. She's so warm feeling in this. She really knocks it out of the park.
Catherine Hahn rules. I mean, I'm happy to see her in anything. So like the fact that she's in this in a smaller role, but still a very important role.
Oh, at the time, this is sort of where her career was. So it's been awesome that he was like, yeah, she is great. Let me get her in here before a little bit before the blow up.
When did this come out? What year?
2015.
2015. So yeah, because the first time I saw her was on Parks and Rec, and then that might be where she got.
She definitely got a boost from that. I think in terms of like popular, she was also in The Goods, that Jeremy Piven movie.
Oh yeah, The Good. I like that movie. I remember watching that on.
It's dumb as fuck, but it's good.
It's a great like 3 p.m. Comedy Central movie on like Saturday afternoon. It's just like you're just flipping it on. It's great.
It's a fun one, and she's fun in it.
Step Brothers 2.
That's right.
Or Step Brothers also, not Step Brothers 2.
Wow, we should be so lucky.
Man, should we make it?
I think so, and also it stars Catherine Hahn. She is the main character now. She becomes their stepbrother.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Exactly. But so this movie filmed in Chester Springs and atypically night edited during the movie, which can be tough because you see what you did wrong immediately. So now you're faced with your own flaws and limitations, which can inhibit your ability to get back out there and do the next scene. But he was able to leverage this into seeing what they needed to reshoot and fix, which they can't do if a studio executive is breathing down your neck about schedule or you're worrying about what the audience is going to think. It really, him sort of doing this movie on his own dime, basically. Blumhouse contributed a little bit, Universal helped distribute, but it really let him sort of make the movie he wanted to do, have a clean conversation with the editor, and build the movie that he was looking to build.
Well, he couldn't do that without selling out earlier, so like that, it all works out in the end. So
true, King, so true.
One thing I wanted to say about casting before we move on from it is the pop and
Peter McRobbie, great.
Yes, we've seen, obviously I mentioned the creepy grandma trope has been done. Have we seen a creepy grandpa?
Wow. Surely there are a few. There's
gotta be. I can't think of
Hunter,
any,
but that came out after this.
Okay. So
I'm trying to Climate of the Hunter, something like that.
Yeah, see, we can't even remember the title, and I don't even know what that is. So
wow.
But
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I just can't think of
Anything
another
for Jackson. That had a creepy grandpa in it.
What,
but also after this. So
what's it called?
This may be Anything for Jackson.
Okay.
That's a good movie with two distinctly elderly villains, and they're very good. I liked that movie quite a bit.
An elderly villain is cool too. Like it's unique.
It is. It's different. It's atypical.
Yeah.
But another benefit of a movie this size is that it allows a more authentic emotional stamp. He was saying they're moving quick, which means it's more communicative of what he's feeling in a way that a 3-year shoot just can't, because you're a totally different person by the end of those 3 years than you were at the beginning.
Right. Obviously.
Yeah. So it releases in 2015, and as far as reception, this was huge for him. It is the first of 2 low-budget films that revitalized the M. Night career at its nadir. Visit cost $5 million. Split cost $9 million. And they made $98.5 and $278.5 million, respectively.
Wow.
He's back, baby.
He's back, baby. M. Night is back. That probably was the launching pad to the rest, to his all the movies he's making now. Which,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Mostly great, mostly good.
I reserve comment because I will just say that they're all good.
When did The Village come out?
Before this.
2012, right?
They were filming when 9/11 happened.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. That's 2012. I'm an idiot. So it was, I was in high school. Yeah, 2003.
That might
okay.
be something like that.
Yeah, 2012. What an idiot I am. Can you cut that?
So let's get into the actual plot.
Yes.
It opens on an interview with Mom describing the current state of their family. Dad was a substitute English teacher who caused quite a scandal by hooking up with Mom, and 10 years later, severed relations and moved to Palo Alto to be with a woman he fell in love with at a Starbucks. Damn you, Starbucks.
Starbucks. Homewreckers of a coffee.
Right. And when Mom left home originally, her parents warned her about Corin, the dad, and a fight about it escalated to the point where she left home and hadn't spoken to them in 19 years. She also refuses to go into further detail, despite Becca's prying.
This is where they set the tone.
Right.
This is going to be a contentious type of trip, maybe.
Yeah, and intercut with this opening sequence is shots of Mom pacing and smoking nervously in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just those little moments that really help.
Yes.
And she reveals that the grandparents recently reached out and asked to meet their grandkids. She told the kids they wanted to go despite her wishes. And Becca is making this documentary about the experience, quote, for you, she tells Mom. Later on, she'll say that it's a way to get, quote, the elixir. This is the final restorative reward in Joseph Campbell's famous Hero's Journey breakdown, and something that the highly invested in filmmaking Becca, newly exploring this, would be very much familiar with.
The Hero's Journey. Yeah, I mean, she nails it, too. She knows her stuff. And
right.
It's film 101, kind of, but, that's where a 15-year-old would be. Yeah.
Yeah. We also hear shortly after that Mom is dating an eligible and rather rakish-looking man named Miguel Diego Torres.
I love the term rakish
Yeah,
too.
that's
I want to
great.
start using that more.
It's pretty fucking good.
It's a good word.
When we see Becca, it's not just the filmmaking that she is like proud to be smart. You know, she is constantly using big words and speaking at a level that is maybe like elevated for her grade level. And then
She's flexing.
Yes, she is flexing. And this is like a piece of the performance I think is so great is that like she'll like grin into the camera after it.
Yeah.
Like she's really pleased with what she just said.
Yeah. She knows she hit a home run right there. Yeah.
Yeah. The kids like this guy. They're blessing the union, quote unquote, by giving them time to go on a cruise together. We also finally meet Tyler on the ride to 30th Street Station. He's puffing his chest about being in a group text with 2 girls. This also helps to indicate that there's no signal on the farm that they're headed to in Masonville.
Sets the humor right away. 2 separate girls. He makes sure to make that clear. He's funny. He's great. I mean,
He's funny.
It's making me LOL.
Big hug at the station, and Mom says goodbye at the platform. Really cute moment as she runs with the train making funny faces, and then starts to cry as she loses sight of them.
I love this, yeah.
We talked about how, with the randomness of found footage, that structural irony can't exist. But this really plays into Becca later like railing against sappy moments and like overly wrought emotion, and like this is it, like this is what's happening here, and I think that it really works.
100%. Like this scene, like this is her whole emotional arc maybe in this one train visit. Like she is reliving, like in a way too, she left home and like now her kids are leaving home to go to where she left, and it's gotta be wild for her. And yeah, she goes through all that in about 10 seconds. And it is funny when she's making the train noises, but yeah, it gets me too when she starts to tear up a little bit as she kind of goes out of frame. Yeah, it's good.
Really great stuff. And as they talk with the conductor, we get a really interesting scene because he notices the camera and starts reciting Richard II, despite Becca immediately shutting him down. And this is an element of that role-playing motif in the movie that I sort of alluded to. There are people who are auditioning for her movie, so to speak, but Becca's desire for authenticity comes into conflict with this. But it's really fascinating to me that is so clear, that Becca can so clearly identify that inauthenticity in other people, but Becca and Tyler are both playing the role of being untraumatized. So there's already a layer of artifice there. And then there's even more artifice of the trip at large, where they're going to this grandparents' house to pretend to be an unfractured family. To say that, okay, well, yeah, maybe our dad left, but we still have our grandparents, don't we? Like, that this is all part of just, like, pretending that things are normal.
I think Becca, like, I'm thinking about this now, as you mentioned, like, her appreciation, her willing to shut that down, like the people that are just like happens a couple times, that people just start reciting lines to me, and I'm just figuring this out as I'm saying it, so forgive me, but she is M. Night up until this point in his career, where she is remaining truthful and artistic and like not going against, not selling out, so to speak. But then she finally does at the end of the movie in a way where she compromises her artistic integrity to get the money shot, so to speak. Right. So I think it's a really interesting parallel when you know M. Night's career like you do, and like you've educated me on in a way, and I've learned about just watching his movies. Like it's cool. It's another little like icing on it's a Easter egg, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, she does definitely feel like a sort of a representative of him.
Yeah. I know we've already touched on that, but I'm just realizing that, remembering the movie and like all the little stuff that happens. Yeah, it's cool.
For sure.
It's well done.
We also learn a lot about Tyler on the train. Yes, a preoccupation with germs that manifested after Dad left, and then a psychologist diagnosed as a way to exert control. But more importantly, we learn the fact that he is an amateur rapper.
Yes, he's spitting bars, if you will. Right.
Maybe I can rap at the end of your documentary, he suggests to Becca's great disdain.
And he does.
He does. Again, Spoiler. A moment of structural irony and foreshadowing that simply could not exist.
Yeah, and the guy that tries to recite Richard the Third,
conductor, yes.
Richard the Second,
Richard the Second.
Second, yes. I always get my Richards mixed up.
Classic. Who hasn't, right?
Yes. But he's the one that's beatboxing for T Diamond Stylus. just
It
a
certainly
cool,
is.
it's almost like it's a blooper scene in a way, because
Yeah.
it's just, but it works. It's good.
It does feel a little bloopery. There's
Yeah.
also a few glimpses of the woman behind Tyler looking baffled.
Yes. Like,
Which
what is happening?
So funny. There's also maybe my favorite joke in this entire movie. Later on, Tyler will be talking to his grandmother about, he says, like, I have a Tyler the Creator sound, or so I've been told. And for him to, even have any pretension that grandmother is going to know who the fuck Tyler the Creator is hilarious. And then on top of that, for this little, doughy white boy
Yes.
to be like, I'm comparing myself to one of the 21st century's most abrasive scare your mom rappers is like truly hysterical.
It's so funny. It's so funny. It's the confidence that you would need to be a doughy white kid that's gonna be comparing yourself to Tyler the Creator. Like, it's very funny, and that just he's great in this movie. It's just especially second time too, like second watch. Again, the first time watching for everything to happen, but the jokes and like him referring, like saying the female pop, the pop stars names in place of cursing is very funny to me.
Yeah. Kids
Yeah,
also love Tyler.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I think it's PG-13? It is PG-13.
Is it? Wow.
It is PG-13. And yeah, I think that Tyler is a huge anchor point for the youth.
Yes.
And I think that he's really helpful as a character to get them involved. I also, do think it is very funny. It is a great performance in terms of, like, he needs to have, like, no pretension, basically, in order to, like, deliver this authentically. And he does. It's really impressive stuff. He's a great child actor. Now, the Monday morning title card slams down as they arrive for their week away. Very artistic shot, one of these sort of unbelievably artistic shots, as Becca quickly places the camera down, and it perfectly frames them all meeting for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think, though, more importantly than just being a beautiful shot, really sets up the recurring long shots and instructs us as an audience to pay attention to the deep part of the frame. This is really important for the visit, because a frequent scare tactic is something goofy happening in the foreground and something vaguely threatening in the distance.
Right.
So if we don't know that they're going to be using the whole frame, how are you knowing to pay attention for that?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it's important that they don't speak to the grandparents don't speak for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of adds to like the
nervousness,
especially again on the rewatch too. It's like, oh, they're like acting a little weird from the jump. Maybe they're not like, jovial or excited in any, like, but.
And you see right away this willingness to sort of paper over stuff, where Becca introduces Nana, Maria Bella Jameson, and she's like, she's a good cook and we have the same eyes, which they do not have the same eyes.
No.
Like, they don't look the same at all.
No, they don't.
And it is just, her being like, well, this is what families do, is like, oh, I have to look for something that is passed down. I also can't speak to the quality of the cooking, but it's certainly voluminous in this movie, and more people could stand to greet me with soft pretzels, is all I'm saying.
We brought up pretzels earlier too, and now and I didn't even. It's funny. I didn't even remember that she did that.
Wow.
And he does make everybody eat soft pretzels in his movies because of the twists. But yes, I would like that to be greeted. Hey, Reegs, how you doing?
Welcome.
Here's a soft pretzel.
Right.
Amazing. You're instantly in my good graces.
That's right. We also meet Pop Pop, aka Frederick Spencer Jameson. Another really cool shot of the two of them distorted through some glass. Ominous subconscious foreshadowing. Really cool stuff.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of the shots through the glass, like the inaudible dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah. They arrive. Yeah. They arrive and find the perfect cinematic image to open the documentary. Mom's tree swing, swaying in the breeze. Organically, as Becca says. And then, despite the organic nature of the shot itself, Becca, in her effort to capture it, cannot help but fuck it up. She tells Tyler, oh no, let it swing, just stand there, be normal. And it just makes Tyler very stiff instead of letting him actually just act naturally with it. That's some real beginner shit, Becca. Come on.
Come on, Becca. And I think it's funny how the scene goes on for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, she really lingers on him.
Yeah.
There are some interesting moments as they start to settle in. Not only did Mom tell them about the swing, but she even told them about the clock in the hall. I think it's very clear that she has fond and vivid memories of this place, despite the fight and 19 years of distance.
And this also helps you, like, the audience, too, to, like, they're establishing right away, like, they're in the right place. Like, these are the, you know, like...
This is the home.
This is the home. This is, they didn't, like, you know, get kidnapped or, like, you know, like, into or go to a strange location that they're figuring, you know, like, the swing and, you know, yeah.
Right.
He's setting the table for you.
That's right. And also, both grandparents love T. Diamond Stylus rapping about pineapple upside down cake. In both of the raps so far, he's talked about being short, which is sort of an indicator of his ego issues, I'd say.
He definitely thinks about it a lot.
Yeah. And this is, I think, one of the most powerful artifice moments where if you think about it for like a second, you're like, wow, that's incredible. But like, the camera falls onto the bed and perfectly frames their game of rocks, paper, scissors for who gets the bigger bed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, the odds of that happening are staggering.
Right.
Like,
You couldn't do it if you tried.
But you buy it. You totally buy it.
Mm-hmm. You don't think, like, that's cheap or anything. Like, that's the thing. Like, you might, like, I don't know. I think you might if it was a different kind of movie. But this one, like we said, stands on its own in a way where you do buy it. Oh, that makes sense. And this is just... It just happens to be a really cool shot and scene. Yeah.
You guys are good kids. We're going to have a great week. By the way, there's mold in the basement, so stay the fuck out.
First red flag. Right. And they were acting pretty normal up until this point. Like you mentioned them liking his rapping. They seemed like they were kind of, you know, all getting along. It seemed, you know, family.
Right. It's that sort of like desperate affection of like, I'm with family. We don't see each other very often. We need to get along. We're here for a week.
Yeah, like, it seemed genuine. Like they're again setting the groundwork for like this is normal.
Right. I would say yes, it's normal in its not normalcy.
Right.
Like,
no. Yeah. Like what was happening was fine. Like, you know, like but just like
that's how you act when you are like not 100% comfortable with people.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just you're cheering them on. Yeah. It was normal in that sense.
And Becca's demand for authenticity leads Tyler to over-enunciate his movements. She's also going to explain mise-en-scène tomorrow, but her desire for formal classicism is at odds with his goofery, and we get a really funny editing joke as it cuts mid-sentence to him just fucking around with the camera.
Yeah, just like making funny faces. Yeah. Classic.
While he's doing that, he sees Grandpa entering a shed with something, then ignoring Tyler's calls and locking it up behind him. But he's back to normal when he tells them that it's bedtime at 9:30. What the heck?
9:30 too. It's rough.
Yeah, they are not thrilled about that.
No. Especially
meanwhile, I'm in bed at 10 and happy about it.
Yeah, no, that's usually my bedtime too, is around like 9:30. I'm starting to wind down. I got a baby. So
that's right.
Yeah.
This is where Becca talks revealingly about hating sappy scenes when Tyler says a scene that she's editing makes him want to cry. She also says that she's going to do some ironic scoring with the song Possession, which is Mom's favorite. She says it's so over the top, it'll be her presence in the documentary, counterpoint to the quiet drama. And I really want to clock that as another one of these sort of ironic moments that defies the authenticity in a way that still feels very normal.
Right. It does seem like a decision like a first-year film student would make.
Right.
You know, like that's...
But then it does... But it comes in at the end. That song does, I don't know if you clocked this, but that is the song that plays at the end in the climax. Yeah. And so for her to be like, it's funny that this song will play over nothing. Right. And so it will seem like it is way over the top. But then for it to play over the climax when a lot is happening, it becomes like ironically unironic for it to just be like a normal piece of score at that point.
It's funny because and I didn't like maybe put this together till now, but it both works and it's something you can poke fun at, which is that's nice.
That's the M Night Special, baby.
That's the M Night Special. That's hard to do.
Yeah. You get a shot of the moon at 10:30 and Becca can't sleep. She needs more damn cookies. So I guess they were good.
They look good. I didn't know. Do we see the cookies? We saw the biscuits.
You see Grandma shoveling cookies into her face later
Oh, that's
on.
right. Yeah, that's true. We do see them. Yeah, they don't look that good then, but
In that moment, they don't look ideal, but they've sort of lost a little of the flair over the week. So
yeah, that's true. A lot of other food.
But heading downstairs, Becca stops at the sound of retching because Grandma is stumbling around projectile vomiting, and so Becca like scrambles back to the room.
First weird thing to happen, really.
That's right. That's right. She asks Pop Pop about it while he chops wood and bales hay, and he writes it off as a stomach bug. She's an old lady, Becca. She gets sick sometimes.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. She moves in a way that belies her age, though, as she scares the fuck out of Becca and Tyler while they play hide and seek in the crawl space. She's literally galloping. And this is, again, one of those moments where it's absurd, and it's like so scary in the moment, and then as soon as they all tumble out into the daylight, you start laughing.
Yeah, and it is funny because she starts laughing too as soon as she comes out, and it's like, but I think this is the moment where and it's a tight movie too, it's only like 90 something minutes. Yeah, this is the moment where like something is wrong, like something is not right with it's not just, they're a little kooky. This is strange. She's spider crawling through the what is it? Under the deck? Crawl space. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. She's crawling through the crawl space. That's probably why I couldn't think of it. But yeah, it's not normal. And we just talked about things that were normal. This one would fall into the not normal category.
That's right. For those keeping track at home.
We got one for normal. One for not normal.
Two for not normal, because the vomiting, we're going to throw that up on the not normal side.
That's not normal. Especially
Actually, no, we did say it is normal because she's an old lady and old ladies get sick.
I just
put that in the middle. Put that one in the middle. We don't know if that's normal or not.
It's a maybe. The way she was vomiting was strange.
Yes, exactly.
Walking.
You can't be doing that.
Who walks and vomits?
Not me. Not me. Another thing that's maybe less normal is as she walks away, her dress is tucked into herself and her ass cheek is hanging out.
This is part of the absurdity. That's like that you can't help but just laugh at that.
Yeah. A doctor from the hospital that the grandparents volunteer at as counselors stops by, also auditioning, this time with Macbeth as he clocks the camera. They're not around to chat, but he is placated by Becca's assurance that the grandparents are fine. He also says that there's been a lot of excitement and he can't wait to tell them. I know how they love gossip, he says, which is rude as fuck, and this dude is the damn gossip as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's coming to their door. This is the only thing I didn't really get. Maybe is like they're like the guy on the train and this guy like reciting the scene. Like that is the only thing of this movie that makes it seem like it's. I don't know. It doesn't fit for me. The fact that it happened again. I don't know. For some reason, that didn't work for me. I mean, it just made me feel like that was going to be a recurring thread that was going to pay off in a certain way, but it didn't.
Well, I don't think it was supposed
to, but it
fell
out of place.
Pays off. I would say.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
With Stacy, I want to say her name is or whatever. We'll talk about it when it occurs in the plot, but she shows up at the door, and she does not perform for the camera. Which Becca is like, oh, this is great.
That's
and
true.
And she starts to film her, and she's like, oh, we're just doing portraits of everybody around. When she's very clearly not been interested in taking portraits of these fakers, these phonies who are interested in performing for the camera because they're inauthentic.
And she's
unlike Stacy.
And then Stacy's like super awkward and stiff in front of the camera. Yeah. Okay. That's I never contrasted that. That's good.
There we go. That's the third one. Rule of threes.
That's right. Yes, I forgot the third one.
Tyler investigates the shed, isolated farm, people sneaking around. Is it dead bodies? Funny on two levels. First of all, he does multiple takes, which you gotta laugh at.
Does it? He gets it right. I think he gets it right on the last one. Yeah.
I think the first one was correct, honestly, but it doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt to have coverage.
Right.
But then second, it's more ironic foreshadowing, as we'll learn that there are dead bodies around, just not in there specifically.
Right. In a different location.
Right.
And it makes sense that a kid like Tyler, or any kid really, would want to sneak into somewhere where he was told not to. So,
right.
Makes sense.
And what's in the shed is, in fact, a huge pile of diapers.
Yes. Not ideal.
Not ideal for a germaphobe like Tyler, either.
I'd say it's mostly not ideal for anyone. Like, I don't know if anybody's gonna walk into a shed and be like, "Oh, great,
Rubbing my
shit-filled
hands.
diapers." Maybe The Fly, Jeff Goldblum.
That's right. That's right. And speaking of, there's an interesting moment of reality breaking for the sake of storytelling. All the ones that we've mentioned so far have been visual, but this one is sound. Because the edited in buzzing of flies from across the room, despite it being winter, is almost more real than just capturing the room as it is.
Right.
It like conjures the smell. You're far away, you hear the flies, you go, uh-oh, something stinky in here.
And he pans around the shed for a while, like before you realize that pile. So it's like that's definitely not anybody's first guess. But then maybe it is once you hear the flies, and it's like that build up to, oh my God, the worst thing imaginable.
Right, and just his camera would not realistically be able to capture that sound from that far away. Like, it's just not possible. But it works for storytelling, and because we are so ingrained in that cinematic apparatus, we accept it. We just say, this is movie making, baby.
At this point in the movie too, you're like in. So you know, like that's I don't think something like that would throw you.
Imagine the person who's like, I've been really enjoying this movie, but the second that the flies started buzzing and they got edited in, I'm fucking out.
Some weird fly expert that's like, actually, you wouldn't be able to hear flies buzzing from that far away.
It's winter!
Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
This then leads to Nana gently telling him about Pop-Pop's incontinence.
Yes.
And meanwhile, the camera pulls off more deceptively beautiful visuals. It's kind of hanging out respectfully distant over Tyler's shoulder. And you know, you go, it's one thing for Becca to be like, all right, I'm popping down the camera here and it's going to be this nice long shot and frame them up nicely. But for Tyler, you know, that's how you know it's no accident.
Right.
Tyler is not like, I want to be respectful, but still got to capture this moment of Grandma telling me about Pop-Pop being able to hold in his shit for the movie.
No, he doesn't have that kind of artistic integrity, and we see that.
Right.
And this is the start too of the trend that happens throughout the movie, where each one of them, the Nana and the Pop-Up, are explaining the others, kind of
covering it up.
Right. They're covering their tracks for the other one in a way which seems much more obvious on the rewatch. And I'm sure he did the first time too, because it's very like cut to like the Nana explaining, oh, he's has incontinence, like the cut to the Pop-Up explaining, oh, she's an old lady, Becca, like, so
Yeah.
it's very I think they're holding your hand through that one.
Yeah. We're back with Becca. She says, my mom is a classic narrative character, which I find it to be just so funny, so authentically, I'm a teenager who knows everything.
Yeah.
To say, my mom is a classic narrative character.
It is funny when you remove that sentence in a vacuum. It's a funny sentence.
This is when she brings up the elixir, or her self-sabotaging could fuck up her relationship, or she's talking about her mom. This movie, the movie within the movie, is supposed to provide some closure for Mom, thus becoming the elixir and healing her. On a trip into town to shoot some of Mom's old hangouts, Pop-Pop blows his top, the Pop-Pop top.
The Pop-Pop
pops his top.
Pops his
Pop-Pop pops his top.
Oh. Say that 5 times fast. You can't.
You simply cannot.
Can't be done.
But he accuses a passerby at the school of following him. It is intense, and it looks like he's going to kick his ass, but he sort of bashfully retreats, and Becca, again, hand waves it away. Old people get paranoid and confused. Meanwhile, Tyler's like, he's as strong as a wrestler.
He does. The Pop-Up takes him down pretty easily, and this guy, but the guy is, not expecting it, but...
All he does is chop wood, too. I mean, this guy's out there. He's strong. He's wiry.
He's got that country strength. Like, yeah,
That's
he can take someone down. But yeah, this is the first time too where I think we get the glimpse, like there's the dementia aspect to it, because it's just incontinence and vomiting before this. So now it's like, oh, they're confused, like they don't know where they are, type of deal. Which
the paranoia,
yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That night, Tyler says, "Hey, still don't want to talk about it?" Well, Becca brushes her teeth. This is because she's facing the opposite direction, a result of her newfound distaste for looking in mirrors. You do, at the moment, think it's possibly just simple teenage self-loathing, but as we sort of go on, we realize it is something more like Tyler's germophobia.
I definitely didn't clock that the first time or second time I watched the movie in this scene, like that she was not facing the mirror. Obviously, like, you know, you get that later, but the reasons. But yeah, it's fun to look back on that. Like there's all those moments, and then there's a moment at the end where, you know, it's the opposite, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That night, at a bit past 10:30, they hear a strange noise. Tyler and Becca investigate, despite her reluctance. It's so funny when he says 3 times that he's going to open up the door before actually doing it.
Yeah. I'm going to open the door, Becca. I'm about to open the door, Becca. Okay, stop talking about it. Just do it.
Yeah. And when he does, Nana is nude and scratching at the wall like a lunatic. The ghost of Charlotte Perkins Gilman is giving this 5 stars on Letterboxd off that alone.
Yeah.
Or Letterboxd, the one for ghosts specifically. They don't care what us liveys think.
Liveys.
That's what ghosts call us, of course.
Of course they call us that. Those damn liveys.
M. Night movies. Everything has a 5-star rating on Letterboxd.
Oh, Letterboxd. They only have ghost movies on there, though. Or like stuff like
I mean, that still leaves you pretty good. You got the Sixth Sense at least.
You got a Sixth Sense. You have Ghost. You have Ghostbusters.
They don't like that one. That has a 0.
0, yeah. That's the only one. Especially the
That's their horror movie.
They love
Ghosts. That's actually their horror movie.
They actually loved. I saw this too because they loved the Frozen Empire one. That's the only one they liked. The most recent one. That one got 5 stars. I'm like, that one seemed like dog shit. Why do they like that one? I don't get it.
Yeah,
so
they liked it. You know what?
You can't argue with
This
Ghost.
is why they don't consider our opinions, because we don't get it. So
we can't argue with them. You know, it's impossible for one, and they just don't listen.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a fun yellow wallpaper-esque moment. Highly recommend that short story to people if they have not checked it out. It's one of my faves. Wednesday morning, title card drops, and again, Becca asks Pop, what the fuck is going on? And he says, let me tell you a little bit about sundowning, Becca. This is a funny moment here that also does work a little metaphorically, because while Pop is absurdly dressing up in a tuxedo, Becca realizes that he's not centered. So she moves the camera to frame him up, but then he floats over, so now he's too far to the other side. And when she fixes it again, he again drifts out of center. And you sort of see, okay, yeah, it's funny that she keeps having to fiddle with this, but you also see he is mentally and physically unanchored.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting way. Like they're really hitting that home with the sun, like him defining sundowning, and then, you know, with him accosting that one man, and now this, like, yeah, they're drilling that home.
Yeah. Good morning, Cecil B. DeMille, Grandma announces, poking her head in through the window, serving as a reference to, yes, her age and Gish-esque appearance, but also to one of the great hagsploitation films of all time, Sunset Boulevard, wherein she's ready for her close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Yes. And this is also making her seem very normal and, you know, with it.
Yes,
too. She's like,
back. She's back, and it's such a powerful juxtaposition against the nighttime scenes.
Mm-hmm. It's also through the window too, so it's positive dialogue through the window. When it's also like when we hear the dialogue through the window, it is good, and positive. When we don't hear it and it's inaudible, it's usually something bad. So
true.
What does that say? I don't know. Am I being a Becca right now and reading into stuff that's not there? I don't know.
But also I will say I did a very cool little thing for Reegs here that people can't have seen, but there is also an element of the window looking like a frame.
Yes, I
for
did
her
catch
to be the star again. You know, I'm ready, Mr. DeMille. So.
That's true. Yeah, that's great.
She also reveals that she fucked up the camera on the computer, and you wonder if it's just confusion or something more purposeful. And even on rewatch, I don't think it really fully indicates one way or the other, which just makes it more curious. I love that that's a little ambiguous.
It is. I feel like too, like this is one where it did feel a little bit to me on the rewatch, not on the first watch, but like that was okay. I feel like she should have maybe broken the whole computer, but then maybe that would have given her away, because the fact that it's just the camera does seem strange. But it does. It is excusable that she tried to clean it, and I don't think too much about it. But when I see it, when you see like the computer and just the webcam is covered up, I just like I don't know, but like just on rewatch, I had that for like a second. But you know,
And
it was
Tyler is
fine.
also getting suspicious. He's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this?
Right.
And he says as much when Mom checks in again from the cruise ship to Becca's distress. And Mom is on Becca's side. They're old people, Tyler. That's what
Right.
they fucking do.
And knowing the reveal and everything too and whatnot, it does seem like this is one of the moments where it makes it seem like they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, covering up the webcam specifically. Yeah. Whereas if the computer was completely broke, or you know, if it was unfixable too, like it kind of blurs that line in a weird way where she is able to fix it. So she didn't, you know, maybe she just like kind of delayed but did she know what she was doing? You know, in a certain way, you know, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I also find it to be kind of interesting that over and over, people are like, that's what old people do. And it's just like, there is a level of ageism that they're just like, yeah, they act like fucking lunatics because that's just how old people are. And it's like, well, I know plenty of old people who don't act like lunatics. Right. So
shouldn't they do stuff the best since they've been, you know,
they've had plenty of time to practice.
Right. Come on.
So I just do think that is also an interesting element of like, yes, there's a level of maybe people being warm and empathetic and understanding that, yes, old people do degenerate, but also there's an element of like, yeah, that fear and that otherness of like, well, they're over there and that's what happens is they get sick. Like, it's
a way for people to because it's tough to deal with, I think, for a lot of people it's dealing with death in a way that a lot of people like to avoid. And you know,
in my experience, people actually love to consider the fact that they too will one day die.
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, you hang out with those. You know, the people you hang out with, George. I've been meaning to like. We
meet up in the cemetery.
Yeah, they're strange, to put it lightly.
No, I do hear you though, and I think you're right. I think you're right in that people don't like to think about that.
And I think that's why they excuse a lot of these things that old people do in this way. And like we do that in life, you know, a lot of, I'm sure a lot of us have done that, but is a way to like, just kind of like not think about it, brush it under the rug type of deal, which is never a healthy way to go about things.
Correct. And I think that it is really reinforced by the following scene, which is another moment that I love in the movie, where the camera sort of approaches Nana with trepidation. It like peeks over the corner.
She's smoking, and you almost see her put on the roll. Yeah.
She like stops luxuriating in the cigarette and she becomes smiling Nana.
The way they approach her too, like the way the camera approaches her is
so good.
Yeah, it is so like the tension building just in that moment is, and you're like, yeah, right. She like sees her, and like you see it from Becca's point of view too, is like kind of peering over. Like, does she notice her at first? Oh, like yeah, she definitely did, and then she makes her way over. It's great.
Yeah, and in this moment, Becca inquires about Mom, and Nana just straight up ignores her. But then, with awesome framing to really make the oven pull visual focus, it's like a black void in the middle of this shot. Nana asks, "Would you get inside to clean it?" And, I mean, the delivery is incredible. It is chilling as hell, and it feels like a dare as she gives Becca the sponge.
Yeah.
The oven is off, she says innocently. It's so fucking good.
It is. This is where it's like for Becca too, because she's the non-believer in this way. Like she's the one excusing it, and this is her first. Like this is strange.
Put the money where the mouth is,
right?
Baby.
Are you going to excuse this getting all the way inside an oven to like? First of all, why is the oven that big? Like why? Like I've never encountered an oven where an entire human can crawl inside of it. Like that's
a child cooking oven.
That's a child cooking oven. That's a big red flag. Like, are they cooking children in this oven? Did they install, you know, who knows? But yeah, it's not a good sitch for old Becca.
No, it's not. And in this moment, we get a lot of really awesome little moments.
Yes.
Nana is strangling the washcloth while her body is completely still. It's like she's restraining herself from wringing Becca's neck for these questions. Meanwhile, the loud drops of water are like the flies, a really strong oral piece of filmmaking to keep us on edge. You know, you hear it and it's that persistent drop, 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 drop. And it's the only sound that you hear as you wait for something to happen.
It's almost like a metronome.
So when Becca scrambles back out, and nothing has happened, God, you feel such a sense of relief, even though literally nothing happened.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's comforting almost in a weird way.
Yeah. And at the end, Nana agrees, okay, I'll star in your movie. Great interview scene. The warm-up question is, what animal would you want to be? Nana says grizzly bear, which is an interesting answer. Of course, a cute exterior, but extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Becca wastes little time before asking about Mom, though, and Nana seizes up. No more questions about Loretta Jameson, she manages to sputter out. I don't want to star in your movie.
Yeah, that's where it gets tense.
Certainly does.
She gets like violent with herself, like shaking her head. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler hides a camera to capture the weird behavior that night, but Becca chastises him. It's like we're living with a werewolf, he protests, which is an interesting comparison considering she also just aligned herself with a ferocious wild beast, and also her behavior will only become more and more like a werewolf.
Yes.
There's also a funny line on like a meta level where Becca says, oh, it's exploitative, I have cinematic standards. Meanwhile, it's like this $5 million horror movie. And like Tyler's like, it's not the 1800s. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah,
funny,
there's reality TV, the Housewives of Houston or whatever he mentions. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a moment of M. Night being like, it sucks that nobody gives a shit about this.
Right.
Another lovely moonshot, kind of Majora's Mask-esque, as it just ominously looms there as they count down the days. And that night's episode consists of Nana scampering around the house. It is terrifying as she passes. She does the Naruto run and then switches to all fours. I was ready for her to start whipping out hand seals, casting a damn jutsu on these fools.
Yeah, it looked like the Exorcist walk to me.
When she's on all fours and she's doing the... Yeah.
Defies logic.
Some does. Becomes like a werewolf, some might say.
Yeah, I would say that.
T. Diamond Stylus would also say that.
Yes. If it's good enough for him.
Good enough for him, it's good enough for me, baby!
Is this stylus? Stylus like a pen you write on,
Stylus,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
It's no mid-sized sedan.
It's of the time, too. I feel like styluses were really in 2015.
Sure. I'm on board with that. I really, if I ever got the chance to sit down and talk with M. Night, I would, I think, ask him about his relationship with rap music. Because
Who's your favorite?
Fascinating. It's fascinating. And he, like, clearly is poking, he, like, basically is the dad when it comes to rap music, where he's like, what are you listening to? T. Diamond Stylus? Mid-sized sedan? But then, like, at the end, he, like, picks, like, a good rap song to fit the credit sequence and stuff. Like, it's strange. His relationship with rap is very strange, and I like it.
It is strange. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Thursday morning time card. They're on a walk, and Tyler makes fun of Nana running around. And you see this, like, not as bad in the cold light of morning kind of feeling that persists. But Nana seems distracted this morning, staring into the well.
Yeah. There's a funny moment here where Tyler imitates Nana.
Yeah.
Just walking around, like, or doing the crawl or walking around in
He leaps.
Yeah, leaps. That's what it is. Yeah, it's that this was very funny to me.
Yeah. It's time for another interview, this time with Tyler. The first question right off the bat is intense. When you think of Dad, do you still like him?
Right. Whoa.
And Tyler is not prepared for this. He scrambles a bit. He says, oh, stuff happens.
Yeah.
Dad is so funny. He sent that great postcard. And when Becca says, what do you mean stuff happens? He says, oh, people leave. They find something they like better. And it becomes so clear that Tyler is extremely fucked up by this. Like, for that to be his view of how people interact with their loved ones is insane.
No, and he deflects in a really believable way too for a kid. Which and it's clear that they're like he's going through it. Like, it's very obvious now from this interview.
Right. I'm fine and believe what you want, but this is how I feel, he says. And it cuts. And now he's telling a story about Pee Wee football. He froze, he fucked up a play, and he lost them the game as an 8-year-old. And he has fully shouldered the blame for Dad leaving as having disappointed him with this. Especially since they never talked about it. They just were silent on the ride home. It also adds a lot of context to when he said he doesn't like sports anymore when Grandma asked.
Yeah, it's all that ties. He's got to wrap his mind around something, like give himself some closure, and like that's, in his 10-year-old mind, that's all he can do, obviously. And yeah, it's sad in a way.
Definitely. They go to check the well, and there's nothing. So now it's time for Becca's interview. There's another bit of interesting irony where she's very interested in this authenticity that we've been talking about the whole time. But when Tyler exasperatedly asks her the warm-up question, she gives an extremely rehearsed answer about dolphins being intelligent and social with power and poetry in their movement. And you're just like, gag, eye roll.
She's thought about this before.
Exactly. She was ready for it. She has this barrier up. She literally says, oh, it's supposed to loosen you up.
Right.
And we see that this has, in fact, been something that she has been rigidly prepared for. So Tyler breaks through with a question about, why do you like the pizza delivery guy, even though he has ratchet acne? Pretty funny.
That is pretty good. She answers the question.
She does, which I did have to give props to Becca for that.
Yeah. They both are going through it in a different yet similar way.
Yes, and the next off-book question is even more intrusive and revealing. When he says, how come you never look in the mirror? Becca only likes to look at herself while editing, as evidenced by her inside-out sweater, and like I mentioned earlier, it almost feels like a way of dissociating to me. Like she can pretend that she's a character in a movie, and her problems are fake this way. She's not Becca. She's first name movie, last name director, the dolphin.
Yeah, and this is where the emotional aspect of this movie really, like, I don't know, it just a dad leaving their kids and then them both having to, and she's trying to make this movie for her mom as a way to give her, like, her mom closure, but yet she hasn't gotten it herself, and then just watching her kind of realize that in real time, it's tough.
Yeah. Doesn't feel so good, does it?
No.
As Tyler.
And he gives it right back to her, which, I mean, she kind of deserves, but at the same time, it's tough to watch.
Definitely. It's interesting to consider the fact that she talked about not wanting to film people who she's not directly interacting with because it's a level of exploitation, but you could very easily consider this to be emotional exploitation of Tyler and the people around her as well, if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
So there is kind of a blind spot for her.
It's kind of taken for granted what he's going through in a way. Like using,
Right.
It is exploitive.
Yeah. It's more than funny, though, as there's a moment of levity to break the tension as the camera sort of floats inward while Tyler denies doing it. But it's more than funny, because first of all, her changing the subject to ask about lens focal length definitely reinforces that her intelligence and director persona is a way to maintain control. But again, this is artistic flair disguised as randomness. Her face is marginalized in the frame by the empty road behind her. It's extremely deliberate visual storytelling. Becca cries inside, and she reveals that Tyler was on the money, and she feels worthless because of Dad leaving and giving her just a card. You have to wonder, what was this card like? Was it just condolences? Sorry, I'm moving to California?
Yeah, a card too. Like that's what you think of too. Like, just as a new father too. Like this was tough. Like to think that just to even think about doing something like this is
fucked up, man.
Crazy. It's crazy to me. So yeah, it worked on a new. Like
you would at least give them a gift card.
Yeah, right. Come on, there's no money in it?
Slip a $20 bill in that card,
Come
baby.
on.
This is then followed by her talking about old footage of them as kids, which is our first little glimpse of Dad. Notably, she's not looking at the footage, much like the mirrors, but it's like lurking over her shoulder with that camera zooming in. Sort of an increasing reminder of how this shattered their family. How we've seen now how fucked up these two kids are because of this. He's looming over her shoulder, literally and metaphorically. She also says that she refuses to use any footage of him in the movie because that would mean that she forgives him, but there some is, ostensibly in the movie that we're seeing, and he's been felt the whole time as well. She said that piece of score would be her mom's presence in the movie. The emotionality of this movie is a constant reminder of what the dad did.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
A woman, Stacy, arrives looking for Nana. Turns out I did get that name right. And she's looking for Nana and Pop-Pop, who are once again out. She was a former patient, and they counseled her, so she brought a cobbler to check on them since they missed an appointment. much like the psychiatrist had done earlier. She also asks if they heard about the scuttlebutt from the hospital, again, like the doctor did. But she is very nervous and self-conscious, especially with the camera. As we said, this is the authenticity that Becca has been searching for. She says, I'm just getting portraits of everyone, but Stacy literally can't do it. She's smiling plastically. She's like gesturing with the cobbler, which is more food for the Hansel and Gretel vibe.
They're really hitting it home too, like kind of painting this universe that we're not aware of, like where the grandparents live and what they do, and
right.
Just this is yet another person that is, interacts with them, so it counters all the weird stuff that we've seen, and like, she says they haven't been around, and like, oh, they probably haven't been around because they're, going crazy. So like, it excuses that in the moment too, in a very effective way.
It also, looking back at it, kind of puts a clock on things.
Yeah, that's true.
Where this cannot last.
Right.
At some point, they will be found out.
The ceiling is, the dam is going to burst at some point. Yeah.
Right. Too many people interact with the grandparents, the real grandparents, spoiler alert, for this plan to go off without a hitch. So
right.
Becca comes across Nana laughing in a chair. Oh, she must be watching TV. Perhaps she and Mom watch the same shows. Wouldn't that be cute? But how wrong you are, Becca, because there's no TV at all. And the scene basically recreates Psycho as Becca touches her shoulder to interrupt the mechanical laughing, and Nana spins around in the chair before strangling herself, saying, I have the deep darkies, and you have to laugh to keep the deep darkies in a cave.
Oh my god, the creepiest scene maybe of the entire movie, and just like the no TV. First of all, how do you not know that there's no TV in the room and it's like Thursday and you've been there for how long? But anyway, like just the laughter itself, creepy.
Yeah, there's no humor in it.
The rocking chair, perhaps the creepiest of chairs, I would say.
It's top 3 at least.
At least.
Number 2, a stool. What are you missing your back for?
Come on. What are you hiding back there?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like it hits every mark, and it's just like it's chilling.
It really is. And after stopping her, Becca goes to find Grandpa, and he's sitting there with a shotgun in his mouth. And he quickly pulls out, I was just cleaning it. And like, yes, it's fucked up, but there's a real morbid humor to the repetition.
Yeah.
Like, for her to be like, Grandma just tried to choke herself. I went to go find Grandpa and he's about to fucking blow his head off. Like, it's intense. Also, if she had been just like a second late, the rest of this movie probably would have been a lot easier for them.
Right. Yeah. If a lot of their problems would be solved by themselves. So
That's right.
Yeah, the timing is everything.
Yep. This is enough to convince her to put out the camera that night, though. We get a time lapse as night falls, another slick move from Becca, in quotes. They watch a video from Mom, and Tyler remarks, she seems like she's better off without us. Another fresh pang from the wound to his self-esteem that Dad leaving did. It's really, like, Tyler is fucking, I mean, like, I say this in the nicest way possible, like, pathetic. Like, he has so little opinion of himself. He's constantly referencing how short he is and, like, how like, oh, Mom looks like she's having a great time. She's better off without us. Like, he is truly disturbed by this.
And he has refined his defense mechanisms, like, the rapping and everything, it's just...
Right, yeah, the braggadocio.
Right, and it's crazy it's sad to see once you know the full story, but...
Right.
Yeah.
They're both trying to act normal now, and Pop is like, okay, what the heck? But we do get a really nice scene of fraternal affection when Becca calms Tyler down after he thinks he got germs on his hand. This is a nice moment to see them being affectionate with each other.
Yes, she cares for him.
Yeah. But while they're sleeping, we cut to a hidden camera, only it's not so hidden after all, because Nana pops up and does a big creepy face and snarl at us.
I mentioned I had an interesting story of how I watched this movie the first time, and this is one of the moments. Me and my wife were in Japan, in Tokyo, and we had just learned the day before that my wife was pregnant with our now baby, which is crazy. We learned in Japan. And so the next day she wasn't really, feeling great, obviously, as it happens.
Sure.
So we were just kind of hanging out in the hotel room. She was taking a nap and everything. I was just hanging out. It was kind of like later at night. It was around like 6, 7 or so. And we were just chilling, and I'm like, just, I can't sleep now, but what am I going to do? I'm just going to chill, just watch TV, just hang out in the hotel room.
Yeah.
be there if I need to take care of her in any way. And this is how I flipped on the village, just kind of very randomly. And this moment where the grandma...
The visit, you mean?
What did I say? The village?
The village.
God, how did I say that? It's like, what's the opposite of a Freudian slip?
It's sneaking into your mind.
God damn it. Yes, the visit, the moment where the grandma pops up, like I almost, like my wife was sleeping and I was watching this movie and like this gave me such a jump scare that I almost woke her up, which was very funny. But yeah, this is another one where the grandma just really nails it. She's scary, she's frightening, and that like she's got the laughing, she's got the scream down,
Yeah.
the gamut.
She certainly does. And she takes the camera and grabs a kitchen knife going up to their door. Terrifying to imagine, like, after the fact. Like, to imagine them getting the camera and then watching the footage and seeing that happen is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's really, honestly, it's still scary for us to hear her, like, futzing with the door, knowing what's out there, but the camera is just, like, in the room watching Becca and Tyler sleep. It's a very effective and scary scene.
Well, you have no choice but to put yourself in the kid's shoes, and like, yeah, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
To be on the other side of that.
No doubt. Now, remind me at the end to talk a little bit about her grabbing this camera, because I read a really interesting perspective, and what would an M. Night episode be without a little tinfoil?
Of course.
Friday morning time card drops over a shot of some ominous and dangerous-looking farm tools. The kids do watch the footage. They're like, good lord, Mom is going to be home tonight. We'll go home. Until then, just be chill and stay away from them. But I still need them to give Mom the elixir.
Damn it, the film needs to end.
That's right. It's also a fun irony that now they have to be extra fake on top of that normal amount of fake that interacting with elderly relatives can demand as part of fulfilling our roles, especially juxtaposed against Becca's obsession with naturalism.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's, 3 layers of artifice that they're having to put on?
Yeah, it's becoming too much. Hat on a hat on a hat.
One particularly chilling aspect of this footage, also, that I meant to say, is that Nana puts the camera back.
Yeah.
She doesn't just leave the camera on the floor. She puts it back, and that shows more intent than you would think from someone who is supposedly in the throes of sundown.
Same with the messing up the laptop camera. Like it's she's more aware than her actions would indicate.
Right. It's really the kind of thing that just like sits with you.
Mm-hmm. Like she knows what she's doing.
Fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is, and then Tyler says it. All right, Nana becomes Michael Myers at night. Like that's right. Yeah, it's legit.
That's right. They go outside. They play with a tennis ball. It's so suspicious. I love Becca's little point at the tennis ball when Pop-Up asks if they're all right. It's kind of like cocky naivete to think that they're going to convince the grandparents that they're not suspicious.
Yeah, the Tyler's like, this is how children play.
Right. Us two tech-focused city kids have finally discovered the simple pleasure of throwing a tennis ball directly up, Pop-Pop.
We don't have these back home.
She risks an interview with him, and he is, revealing, we'll say. He says, I worked at a factory at night and saw a white thing with yellow eyes running around, and nobody believed me, and then they fired me, and nobody talked to me.
A sad story, like, in a vacuum, you know, when you don't know all the other stuff that he's kind of been doing. But yeah, it's just, you can't help but feel for him in that moment. Right.
I mean, there's clearly isolation is the thing that drove him here.
Right.
That feeling of being separated, I think, is tough,
Yeah, it can drive someone to the brinks.
That's right. He's also down about the end of their trip, returning to that isolation, and he says, I know it's all coming to an end. Vague enough to also be referring to their little charade. Perhaps.
Right. Yes, ominous.
Yes. They see Stacy come back and seems to be angrily confronting Nana and Pop-Pop. According to the subtitles, she yells, what did you do? Which I probably wouldn't have clocked without the subtitles, but that's what they said. Thing is that they don't see Stacy leave. She just seems to kind of vanish.
Yeah, Tyler mentions that too. Like, oh, did I see Stacy leave? But
right,
then
they want some help.
They move on from it really quickly.
Yeah. Nana agrees to do a second interview, and Becca says, tell me whatever you want. And this is, I think, my favorite part of the movie. Because it's sort of where fantasy meets the role-playing that they've all been doing, and how people interact with reality through fiction. It reminds me a lot of Asteroid City, which was a movie that I loved, but even M. Night's attachment to fairy tales as a way to tell stories about humanity is an example of this, I think. And Nana says, I know a story. It's about water. There's a pond that has little creatures in it. These creatures are from another planet, but no one realizes it. These creatures spit into the water all day long, and their spit can make you sleep but not die. When people go underwater in the pond, they go into a deep sleep, a really beautiful sleep. The creatures from another planet have many people at the bottom of the pond, storing them up. They're going to take them back to their planet of Sinmorphatelia one day. That's just a made-up story. It's not real, she says. But you see that this is her rationalizing away her murder. She is deeply disturbed. Later on, we'll find out that she did put her kids into suitcases and drown them in a well on the way to send them to Sinmorphatelia, supposedly. But for her to have to tell a story about somebody else in order to even begin to approach the reality of her situation is exactly what Becca is doing as well.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Like, when you said this is your favorite scene of the movie, that this one, it might be mine as well, especially, like I said, on rewatch, because I definitely paid attention to this one more, just telling that weird story, and then you get a kind of a full scope of hers, and you don't realize what she's saying until the end, too. So it really all comes together in a really fucked up way.
Right. And she says, I don't ever want to see my daughter again. Because she can't confront the truth, only interact through this facade. So Becca realizes this and says, let's do it as another story. So she tells the story of her mother from a distance, while Nana tears up. I would tell her, I forgive you, little girl. You know Becca is like, fuck yes, we got the money shot, baby. Sundance, here we come.
Here we come. That's right. And she says it, too. Like, that's the elixir.
Right. And they call Mom. Mom says, I got in a fight with Miguel. Isn't it crazy how things don't work out for me? Again, something that they have mentioned that she says. She says things don't work out for me and then makes that true.
Yeah, self-fulfilling.
Right. But you also see that this is another scar of trauma, right? Mom didn't get off scot-free. She also feels like, things don't work out for me. Like, I fucked up my marriage enough to drive this guy away or whatever. Like, she also has the low self-esteem that both of her kids have from this family being shattered.
She blames herself, yeah.
Right. They calmly tell Mom to come right away, and when they show Mom the people by the chicken coop, she panics even more. Those aren't your grandparents.
Big reveal. Oh my God. My jaw was on the floor. Like, it worked for me so well the first time, and obviously it's only going to work one time, but it worked so well. Like, it was Sixth Sense style in terms of, like, holy shit. Like, the whole time, even when weird shit's happening, you're not me. I can only speak from my experience, but like, I was not thinking that. Like, I was like, there's something. They're just crazy. They went crazy. They mentioned the molds. They just maybe have dementia, like something,
Right. What happened to their grandparents? Not could these even possibly just be completely different people?
Exactly. And it's like, holy fuck. And then it shifts from, because the whole movie up until this moment, you're building tension. And then the tension breaks into absolute terror. Like, it's to imagine being those kids in this house, like, with people that have done all this weird shit, and that, wow, they're not your grandparents. Like, I am horrified if I am those children. Yeah. And then you check, there's still, it's a whole third act left. There's 30 minutes left in this movie. Like, they got to deal with this. It's only Friday? And like, the mom can't get there. It's several hours away. So like, they got to deal with this for the better part of a whole day.
That's right.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Mom calls the police, whose one officer is currently out on dispatch. And she's like, fucking
one horse town. Yeah.
But suddenly Nana is at the window. Nana, in quotes. I'm just going to keep referring to them as Nana and Pop-Up for the sake of ease. But know that these are not their real grandparents. And she asks, what are you guys doing? She's all innocent. Really great contrast to the bomb drop. Like, the way that she just acts totally innocent in this moment, it's such a great performance again of, like, yeah, we as a viewer have to sublimate this reaction and sort of, like, react in the same way that these kids do of, like, we cannot give away the game. We can't react to this bomb because if we do, then they will just fucking kill us, maybe.
Yes. And for a kid to do that, too, you know, like I feel like that would be difficult for an adult. Yeah, but to put that burden on two kids, that's tough.
Right. And they both emerge inside, Nana and Pop Pop, and it makes them feel totally surrounded. Really great sort of visual storytelling there. And Pop Pop says, we should play a board game. Families play board games. And this line really cements the idea of being driven mad by not fitting the exact mold. Mold, not the mold in the basement, but the mold of characters and archetypes. Nana's fantasy rewrite of her personal tragedy is met by Becca's fictionalization of the rift. And this is all laid on top of Nana and Pop Pop's masquerade as the kids' loving grandparents. Everyone is so eager to fill these roles. The shattered family is looking to replace dad with grandparents. The grandparents are looking to have the perfect week with their grandchildren. Just look back at the exaggerated reaction to Tyler's rapping the first time. The delight that it brought definitely should have been the first clue. He's not that good.
He's not that good. Come on. He's not a Tyler the Creator type.
That's right. And there's another deceptively artistic moment as the focus shifts on a photo, switching from the quote-unquote grandparents to the people they're with in the photo, presumably the real grandparents. Really, like, an incredible moment of, like, wow, no way a 15-year-old is doing that. Sorry, Becca.
Yeah.
Outside, the swing swings naturally, and Becca suggests that they go film some night exteriors. But no, cleaning the oven needs to happen now, insists Nana. Becca steals herself and gets in, while Nana does indeed shut her in this time. It is a terrifying few seconds before she's allowed to emerge again.
Yeah, you always, because Tyler's right there and you think she's going to open it, but yeah, it is. And she like wipes it up real quick. Like she's like clearly like wanted to do this. It's weird and freaky.
Yeah. They sit down to play Yahtzee. Your Pop-Pop is very competitive with board games. Be warned, she says. They run for the door. Before Pop-Pop slams it shut, they get a glimpse of something awful. Stacy, hanging from the tree, finally natural and swaying like the swing that Becca was focused on. There's another moment of non-diegetic sound here for the sake of movie artistry, because, of course, there's no way the camera would pick up the sound of the tree creaking from this far, but it is certainly creepy as fuck.
It works. No one, and like, it's one of those things, too, where if that's taking you out of the movie, then come on.
Right. Honestly, I admire the fact that it is blended so seamlessly into it. Like, I think it's remarkable that he did that it doesn't take us out of it.
And in 1 second, you see her body. It's like literally a second, maybe not even, that you see her body swinging there. And so it's not even a long enough moment for that to really take you out of anything or even set in. Like, you got to think, like, it's creepy.
It is. And Pop-Pop says they picked teams. It's young versus old.
Shocker.
Great fucking line. It's obvious that it works on two levels. I'm not exactly revealing any great secret of the movie to be like, it's been young versus old the whole time. But it fucking works, baby.
It fucking works. In fact, the movie could have been called that.
Yeah, young versus old.
Would have been better. The Visit.
I think it also could have been called It Fucking Works, Baby.
It Fucking Works, Baby. It could have been called
Trap.
Trap.
Yes, we already
Trap. Should have been called Trap.
Could have been called Old, too.
Could have been called Old. Wow. A lot of his other movies titles work better.
Right. At the table, it's really fascinating because at their peak of the kids' fakeness, the game starts to bring out the realness of the adults who bicker and talk about the cafeteria of the hospital. You're not a Yahtzee master. That takes 10 years.
That made me laugh out loud. Like, that was so funny. Like, the fact that she was able to pull that so quickly. Like, that's absurd to be a Yahtzee master. That takes 10 years.
One thing that really makes me laugh in this moment is that Becca can't help but reveal a bit of her true self in this moment because she's like, actually, Grandpa, Hasbro makes the game now. Who gives a fuck, Becca?
Yeah, and they have to come to grips with it in through the dementia lens, which is obviously different than how the kids are viewing it. And yeah, they have to keep up this facade, but also, yeah, this facade is ending, and they have to know at some area of their mind that it is, and that's probably what's giving them some sort of that kind of pause. And that's another thing too, where it blurs the lines of like, do they know, how much do they know what's going on? Like, how aware are they? It also makes me wonder what their conversations are like. Like the Nana and the Pop-Up. Like, what were they talking about, when the kids weren't in the room? I'd love to be a fly on the wall for one of those conversations.
I don't think they were talking about much, man. Old gal is damn projectile vomiting, staggering around.
But they had to come up with a plan. They formulated this whole plan,
That's
like,
true,
so
yeah.
like what, like how
They do like a breakdown at the end, like a debrief. They're like, okay, here's what we did wrong today. Here's how we can fix it tomorrow.
they got like a whiteboard out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is also the scene where Grandma is shoving cookies in her face as Pop staggers away. Yahtzee! She screams into the camera with a mouthful of mush. It's very funny. It's very funny.
It's a pretty normal Yahtzee game from my experience too.
Oh yeah, that's she's the Yahtzee master as far as I'm concerned.
That's shoveling cookies in your mouth is part of it.
Becca goes into the basement thinking that her grandparents are just down there. She's like, they're probably alive and being hidden down here.
Idiot.
Oh God, it's like, yeah, that's childhood innocence, baby.
It is. It is. It's naivete.
Yeah, and you know what? In a way, they are down there.
Mm-hmm. She's
the
right.
The dead way.
Yeah, a much more accurate way. They are just their bodies are down there.
Right. Really nasty detail is the hammer with blood and a little bit of hair stuck to it.
Yeah, the story kind of comes together for Becca in that moment as she pulls what is the name of the place that they work at? Maple something?
Maple Shade, I believe.
Maple Shade, yeah. She pulls that uniform out, and then she pulls a picture out, or vice versa, and then the hammer, and those details, and then finally discovers the bodies, and they are in not good shape.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Becca starts to like record a last will and testament kind of thing. She's like, if anyone finds this footage, my name is Becca. But faux Pop followed her down and scarily says, my name is Mitchell. For him to be still acting normal in this moment is as frightening, if not more, than him freaking out.
Yeah, and this might be this is my favorite pop-up moment of the movie for sure, because this blew past me the first time because you were just hit with the big reveal, and then I'm still dealing with that when he's going over, like, he's really he explains everything that's happening, like what is going on with Nana or
right.
Claire.
They were bragging about how great you were and how you were going to visit so they could be a family, and that was just not fair, baby. Rude to do to poor Claire, who put her kids in a suitcase in a pond.
Yeah, that's just, and you hear that, and it's like, oh my God, like what a horrifying way to die.
Yeah.
And then to paint that visual, man, this is the scene that stuck with, like, that it hit me the second watch way more than the first watch. It was tough.
Yeah, it certainly was. And now that the week is over, their plan is for the kids to join her kids, and the only way to simmer for Telia is through the well.
Yes, that's it. Unfortunately, there's not a better way. And also, Simon for Telia, it's just it's a clunky name.
It's not the best.
Let's come up with a better fake planet name, please.
Yeah, we could do better, Em.
The Simpsons did Blisstonia. That was great.
That's good.
Home run.
That's a home run.
Let's go. Let's model after that, please.
This is base reached on error.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like the opposite of autocorrected. It's just like keyboard mush. Simon for Telia. You want to say Simon for Telia, but it's not that.
An M following an N?
Come on.
What the hell is this?
What is this?
But this does explain the situation the previous day where Nana is staring into the well after seeing a family of foxes. Maybe she actually saw it. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, probably not.
I also love this moment where Pop really wants to make sure that Becca doesn't think that the white thing with yellow eyes isn't real, because it is, and it's waiting out in the field laughing at them. And you're like, oh, okay.
I know all this stuff is crazy, but like that thing I said was real.
Tyler got his head smashed, and he's dazed on the floor while Becca gets locked into Nana's room. We're all dying today, announces Pop. He lifts Tyler, who is frozen in a moment of pressure like the football game, and Pop tells him that there's a magic spell on Tyler. You wonder, oh, is that the case? But more real is that, like, he can see the white thing, probably something that he just has a hard time verbalizing, that he doesn't have the words for, but you can almost envision this as him, like, seeing Tyler's trauma hanging over him. Like, seeing that there is something lingering around him, a sadness, a magic spell that is keeping him down. Right. Mm-hmm. And possibly Pop just wouldn't have, the words for that. I do think that it's an interesting line.
Yeah, there's something there. Yeah, that you can interpret that in numerous ways.
Yeah. He changes himself and he pulls a diaper off and whispers to Tyler, "I never liked you," before smearing shit on his face. You shouldn't have embarrassed him, Tyler.
Come on, Tyler. And again, like, this is a pretty normal outcome for any Yahtzee game that I've ever been a part of. So I don't know why.
You're the diaper wearer, though.
Usually, yeah. I mean, Yahtzee games are long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot be having to get up and go to the bathroom. Who knows what someone will do? What kind of cheating might occur?
They're going to change your score. They're going to, come on.
That's right.
It's a rookie mistake.
That's right. Nana is crawling around and standing ominously, and it is just so damn spooky. Really great use of sound and shadow here as she snarls and growls and giggles, and there's creaking. It's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
And she attacks Becca and smashes her face into a mirror. No choice but to look now, Becca. Really awesome in the lead up, too. How you see her, like, over the shoulder, under a sheet, which is a shot that we've seen before with the dad photo, and when she was chasing them in the crawl space. Haunted, and now she literally looks like a ghost. So, again, metaphor and real.
She almost becomes like a boogeyman in this scene.
Right. Also, she claws and bites at Becca, much like the werewolf that Tyler claimed that she was.
Mm-hmm.
But Becca uses a shard of glass from the mirror to stab this Nana. Nana, more like no.
Damn.
Fucking got her ass.
Got her ass. Yeah, she's dead. She's dead.
Pop gives a speech to the camera while Tyler stands there covered in shit. Two of them are really going through some exposure therapy tonight. I tell you what, between the mirror and this shit all over his face.
Yeah, that's I mean, a way to, embrace germs. I can't think of a more visceral one than that.
Once you've been through that,
like, what else is going to phase you? Yeah, like nothing.
Pop's speech is, "You are blind. You are blind. I am the exposer. I am a seer. I see the veiny, deformed face of the world." Whoa.
Okay, guy.
He also tells Tyler the spell is going to be lifted tonight and they'll all be saved. So that's nice, at least.
Yeah, this wraps up nicely.
But Becca uses the camera to literalize the way that she uses film as an escape from her troubles and smashes the lock on the door with it. She attacks Pop, and now with Becca in the mix and in danger, Tyler is freed and literally tackles Pop, who smashes his head on the cabinets. Eyes on the runner. Watch his hips. Stay low. Wrap the arms.
It's a great moment. He's getting his.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then he smashes Pop's head in the fridge a bunch.
Where's Bill type of style from Kill Bill. Yeah.
Yeah. It's he's clearly working out more than just escape. But
right. Yeah.
God bless. The magic spell is lifted, baby.
Hey, it works for the story, and it works for them getting the fuck out of there, too.
That's right. The music starts, which is non-diegetic and Mom's favorite song, as we mentioned. This is that song, Possession. And they run out, see the police lights in the distance as the rain pours. Mom runs out, wraps them all in a big hug. They all cry. She says, "Oh, my babies." There is a heap of ironies here. First of all, like we said, the song is twisted again because now it's ironically unironic. But furthermore, we get some structural irony with Becca having talked about the hatred of sappy emotion with powerful music because it's manipulative. But here, we can see that it is being used effectively. M. Night is saying it's important and useful as emotional catharsis, this way that we've been talking about people interacting with fiction in order to approach reality. It can help you process our traumas through art instead of, refusing to look at mirrors for 5 years, let's say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then it works for, well, I think too, and it's framed in a different way because these are kids.
Right.
Too, and like going through trauma in a way that we can probably, a lot of us can relate to. But it is different as an adult. Like watching it as an adult, you feel for them in a way where, or they make mistakes in a way where you forgive them
Yeah.
more than you would in an adult character, which adds to the movie and adds to the viewing experience.
Definitely.
IMHO.
Absolutely. I'm just saying that M. Night is gently saying, like, oh, this is a childlike view, I think, to say that, oh, this has no place, and that emotional catharsis at the end of a movie is worthless, because clearly it is valuable.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it wraps up. The ending is nice, like the emotional climate, or the what is it called? The aftermath?
The denouement, yes.
The denouement, yes. Thank you.
But Mom gives a second interview. She's hoping to give some closure to Becca now by revealing what happened in the fight. When her mom stepped in front of the door, Catherine Hahn, her character, they're both mom at this point. So when her mom stepped in front of the door, she hit her, and Dad hit her in response. They stood there in shock a moment, then she left, and they never spoke again because she refused to take their calls despite their reaching out shortly after. And she says, "You didn't have to get me forgiveness. It was there whenever I wanted it." And we see that Mom and Becca have that same low self-esteem that we talked about. She didn't feel like she deserved forgiveness because things didn't work out for her. She was like, they were right. I fucked up. And she says, don't hold on to anger, Becca, which means that we see some footage of them with Dad at the end. And, it means that she forgave him. That's what she said this would mean.
It's hard not to tear up at that moment when you see the footage with them with their dad, and she does. She teaches them a good lesson. Like, don't hold on to anger. It ruined a relationship she had with her parents that was seemingly good, and just one negative moment ruined it, and she held on to it. And yeah, it's a good lesson to take away from it. But also, it's like, as the mom, like, you held on to this anger that, like, you put, like, these kids, your kids just went through all this where it could have been avoided had you made a phone call over the last, like, how many years. So
that's true.
That's that's another little
she had to learn a lesson too.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll have to deal with that in her own way.
Yeah, now she's gonna be guilty about that instead.
Yeah, I would be.
Yep. She's got to get a therapist is what she's got to get.
100%. The whole family needs one after this.
Yeah. One final moment. My brother insisted I include this part, says the card beforehand. And T. Diamond Stylus gives us one more rap for the road, summing up the plot. Not only one last example of art helping people process, but this is the final example of a structural irony that is basically the antithesis of found footage's deliberate randomness. It means that his tossed-off line from before pays off for us, the audience, as does Becca's sarcastic, "That's how all Oscar-winning documentaries end, with songs of misogyny."
It's Chekhov's rap, if you will.
That's right. There is also the possibility of some tinfoil, as I mentioned. Reminder, no longer needed. But I think it is possible, and maybe it's not Becca's documentary, but rather Becca's mockumentary. And they have all been in on it, and we just watched her movie.
Interesting.
Because they seemed very chill. The mom is pretty unshaken, too, at the end of this movie. No one really seems like they're fucked up by the insane thing that they just went through, despite not only the events around her kids, but also the fact that her parents have been murdered. Like, that would still be a shocking thing to hear, even if you had been separated by them.
That's true.
And so the fact that we at the end also see Becca using a mirror might indicate that she overcame her fear of them in the showdown with Nana, or that she was never afraid of them in the first place.
Wow. That's interesting tinfoil. I actually really like that. I don't know. It does put a lot on the kids in this universe being really good actors.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But all I'm saying is that in terms of, like, there's a lot of emphasis on art and fiction helping people process. And so I'm saying that it seems feasible, at least slightly, or at least a fun thing to consider.
There's a thematic through line for sure.
Right. That this is fiction helping her process.
That's interesting. I like that. Yeah, because you're right, because they do deal with it in an almost too brush under the rug-y way.
It wraps up very nicely.
Yeah.
And for these children to be, like, doing a goofy rap at the end, I don't know. I don't know, man.
That's interesting. I'm definitely gonna noodle on that because
Yeah.
I watched this with my wife, the rewatch, because she didn't watch it the first time, like I mentioned. But
Yeah.
and it worked on the reveal, the twist worked on her as well, and she's a big film buff, like yourself. But yeah, I'm excited to share that with her because that's interesting.
There's also a thematic possibility that I read about in Montages magazine, where they talked about the idea of competing for influence in blockbusters. The fact that M. Night is coming off of these two movies that flopped but were these big budgets. They said, there's a struggle of competing narratives and even a fight for the director's chair. During one of her sundowning excursions, Nana takes the camera meant to surveil her upstairs and puts it on the floor, thus shooting her own knife-wielding approach to the children's bedroom door. In the climax, Pop-Pop takes the camera into his own hands to address it with his highly memorable insane credo, and even lifts it up to better capture his smearing of Tyler's face with the diaper content. During the last night, Becca and Tyler attempt to escape under the excuse of going out to shoot nighttime exteriors, but Nana hijacks the shooting schedule, insisting, do this first, wanting Becca to do the creepy task of cleaning the oven. All throughout the week, the elders are like directors seeking to stage a normal life and a perfect visit and a perfect last evening. And I find it to be pretty interesting that there's also a way to view it as like, they are studio heads who turn into completely fucking different people once he agrees to spend some time with them. They're constantly fucking up the movie. They're destroying cameras. They straight up try to take over. It does feel like M. Night is possibly putting some of his trauma of these other two movies, sort of working through it by having them be the figureheads of the studio executives and killing them, basically.
Wow, that is interesting, and that's something that you could only like I said, diving into his kind of psyche and background and his career. Like it's another little Easter egg for the studious.
That's right, for the M heads out there.
The M heads. I don't know. I can't think of a better one. I'm not going to try.
The Nights.
The Knights. Yeah, I don't know.
Night, like NIGHT space KNIGHT.
Oh, that's okay.
Night
Nights. Yes.
There we go.
We got it. We nailed it.
We nailed it, guys. Credits music transitions from hip-hop to Tchaikovsky as foggy images of the farm fade in and out. Nice summation of the movie, but again, doesn't exactly promote the feeling of reality. You know, this foggy photos as we lead out also could be just kind of referencing the grandparents and their demented state. But yeah, it's just a really, really great ending for a really, really great movie.
I agree. Yeah, it's and it's like I said, 90 minutes. It's tight. It doesn't feel like there's any really wasted time to wrap up a movie like this with a lot of different. There's a lot of emotional baggage. There's a lot of tension and terror. Yeah. And for all that to wrap up in a nice, it really is. It's like a nice little bow. And to your point, like it kind of adds that tinfoil theory a little bit that I really do enjoy. But it was really well done. It's like from start to finish.
Absolutely. And now, Reegs, we've reached the part of the episode where we sum up why this isn't just a good horror movie, but is in fact the best horror movie ever made. And I'm going to let you start.
Wow. Well, it's an honor for this to be my final solo episode on Blip. It has been an incredible thrill ride, and all of the movies that we've discussed have been the best at the certain time, but this one is also the best too. And it just holds a special place in my heart because, like I said, the way I watched it, I just found out that I was going to have a baby, and I was just in a dark Tokyo hotel room, and the hotel rooms they're nice, but they're just smaller. So there's this, you're confined, and it was just like kind of two beds, a TV right in front of it, and it's just a tinier room. So I'm just kind of hunkered in there watching The Visit while I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be a dad. Am I ready? I'm too stupid, I feel like. But, I'm dealing with all that while watching this movie for the first time. And there's a lot of parenting themes throughout, which... You see how bad it could go if you decided you're too dumb for it. If I'm too dumb for it, it's going to end poorly like this. Like my kid's going to have a diaper full of shit on him at some point. But no, it was great. It really, like I said, the reveal really worked. Like I can't, like only his movies can do that. And I can't think of another one where my jaw was on the floor. Like, holy shit. Like, yeah. And like this, and watching it in a, probably darkened hotel room added to the level of tension and terror that I was feeling as them, and like just putting myself in those kids' shoes. It was just, like, I can't think of another movie where, and also like, movies with child actors too aren't always like it. I compare it to where there was a bunch of kid actors. Didn't love that. They didn't really carry the weight like these two did throughout the whole movie. The style of the movie really, really worked for me in a way that I wasn't expecting. It just really hit every single mark. It was fun. I laughed out loud. I was scared. I cried at the end with the scene with the dad. I mean, like, what more do you want from a movie? Yeah, it was the great. And the Nana, before I wrap up, the Nana deserves a special shout out. She was probably the creepiest Nana that I've ever maybe seen in a movie. I don't know, just the way she looked, the rocking. Creepy grandpa we've discussed is an untapped trope that I'm excited that hopefully we see more of.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone was really great. Katherine Hahn, she was in her small role. She was really great in this. So
yeah,
I think everything really worked well. I can't think of one thing that I didn't like about the movie. So with that, I have to say it must be the best horror movie ever made.
Must be. To me, this is the best horror movie ever made because, as I approached this movie, I probably would have said that this was my least favorite M. Night Shyamalan.
Wow.
And that's not easy for me to admit because I like to keep the kayfabe up.
You're a night.
I'm a night. And a huge part of my reasoning for that was that it felt to me like a lot of the things that I like about M. Night Shyamalan movies were missing from it. In terms of the style, in terms of the big themes, in terms of just a lot of his sensibilities. And then as I came back to it and as I rewatched it and as I did a little more digging into it, you realize that those things are there and that they are just done a little more subtly than he usually does. And for him to have to go back to basics, sort of restart his career and build it back up from the strength of this movie, from saying that I can be earnest and I can be visually precise, but that doesn't mean that I can't also utilize like popular stuff, right? It doesn't mean that I can't also play in the found footage sandbox, that I can't break out of my traditional formalist style. And I think that this is it's a very important movie for one of our most important directors.
Wow.
That is my opinion. I understand that a lot of people out there don't like M. Night, but I think that the fact that he is so controversial is something to be admired because he is getting emotions out of people. God damn it.
One way or another.
And one way or another, he is taking big swings and he is wearing his heart on his sleeve while he does it. I have never once felt like M. Night was not being authentic to himself, which is, I think, one of the key messages of this movie.
Yeah.
Is the importance of authenticity and of having to break down all of those layers of artifice, even when you're using artifice to help get in touch with your authentic self, to help process those emotions. It's important not to use it as a tool to disassociate. It has to be purposeful. And for that to be the case while also utilizing so many of his classic things like broken families and what that does to people, the troubled, gifted child, and getting these incredible child actors and then directing them well. I mean, it's just a remarkable movie. It really is. Like, for this to be so different from so many of his movies, but also share so much in common with them, it's incredible. It really is incredible, and I think it's the best horror movie ever made. Wow.
And to just piggyback real quick on your point, like this has helped me realize he is one of the most important directors of our time. It's refreshing to see someone now that's controversial simply just for whether or not their content is good or not, like whether or not their movie is good, not because like, oh, he's a shitty person or whatnot. No, he's controversial simply for some people just hate his movies. Some people love his movies. Mm-hmm. I think that's important because that helps, like, that divisiveness pushes the industry forward in a really important way.
Gets the people talking too.
Yeah, it's a water cooler type movie. Like, people love it, people hate it. Like, it's everyone's talking about it, but like that, it works. And he's been around he's been making these types of movies for decades now. So
that's right. That's right. And they have untold depths to them,
yes.
As you can tell from the fact that pre-edit, we are now approaching 2.5 hours, which is a full hour longer than the movie itself.
Wow.
So,
We did it justice.
we did it justice. Reegs, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It means a lot to me to be able to wrap up the show with one final Plutember. Could not have gotten here without your support. And I want to give you an opportunity to plug anything you got going on. Just shout out anything you're liking and digging these days, that kind of thing.
Oh, no, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, and again, this has been a pleasure. Just, like, we've become friends over this show, and we heard about Pluto, and just, like, it's been a great experience, man. So thank you again for letting me be a part of it. But as far as plugs, just follow me on Twitter, Reegs815. That's where I announce anything that I'm doing. Want to stream at some point, want to bring that back, but you'll find all those announcements on my Twitter. Doing a Lost bracket now, best Lost character of all time, so Cast your votes in that, because that's exciting. But
I gotta imagine Smoke Monster or Polar Bear is gonna win.
Man in Black lost the first round.
Wow, is that Smoke Monster? Yeah. I only know him as Smoke Monster.
Yeah, Smoke Monster / Man in Black lost the first round, and then I know, to Sun. Yeah, it's cutthroat so far, but get in there. Follow me at Reegs815.
There you go. All right. As far as my plugs, folks, we're really coming up on the end here. There's 2 episodes remaining. If you've reached this episode point now, we'll be talking about X with JP, and then JP and Reegs will both be joining me to talk about the 1981 movie Roar. I'm really excited to talk about that movie. It's truly fucking crazy. Untrained big cats, people trying to act around them. Not a good combination, it turns out. Truly, here's the thing. We talked a lot about how a lot of horror movies play with that artifice and how it can make you feel more or less comfortable. Roar is just real. It has no artifice at all, because these cats are untrained. And so there are just people constantly getting injured on set while they try and act around these cats. And so it is like the most tense I've ever been watching this, because like I have cats. I know how easy it is to get hurt from them when they're tiny. so these people acting around lions is truly unhinged behavior in the most incredible, terrifying way. So
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, really looking forward to breaking that one down with the boys.
The boys are back.
Boys are back in town.
That's right.
I also look forward to We Heard About Pluto coming back some point down the road.
It's going to happen. We gotta.
We literally left off before like the 2 best episodes.
I know. We have to circle the wagon. I still have like my notes and everything from that. Yeah. Like they're all done. Like it's gonna
happen, folks. It's gonna happen.
We gotta get JP. We gotta get the chat back. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna be back, and we're gonna be better than ever.
Everyone's saying it. Check out the back catalog for as long as it's up. I don't know how long that will be. So, download the episodes you want, hold on to them, because it costs money to keep the podcast up. So, grab all that stuff, check out the back catalog, lots of great episodes with people you may be familiar with, like Hayes Davenport from Hollywood Handbook. We did a really awesome episode about Under the Silver Lake. Nick Weiger talking about the anime movie Ninja Scroll, which was really awesome. John Gabris was on talking about Cat's Eye. All kinds of great episodes that you can go check out in the back catalog. And yeah, look forward to the end. And if you're in Philadelphia, sorry, I almost forgot to mention this. If you're in Philadelphia on October 20th, that's a Sunday, unfortunately, I know, annoying, but we're going to be having the finale, the quote-unquote secret finale for Best Little Horror House in Philly, where I will be talking about the movies that I am surprised did not make it onto the show, and then having lots of guests up to talk about movies that I wish had made it onto the show, and doing a couple like mini episodes about those with a bunch of former guests and pals of the show. So really looking forward to that. That'll be at Philomoka on October 20th, 2024.
The rules.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. And that's pretty much it.
Nice. That show sounds awesome.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to it. All right. Bye.
Later.